virtual.
As sim racers, we always want full focus. One single mistake might cost us the race. We're always improving our skills, our tactics, our consistency, being better than the competition. However, we sometimes forget to upgrade ourselves. That's why we created Q-Focus, an all-natural focus booster without caffeine. The formula is specifically designed to keep us calm and razor sharp during a race. My name is Alex. I'm a sim racer and the co-founder of the performance nutrition brand Gallo. We want to empower sim racers to reach their full potential. Go to gallo.com/simgrid to find out more.
Our R8G Academy rounding out the top three, having suffered dramas. Bentley and Audi between them would lock out the top five, with the Ingolstadt Mark securing second to fourth place after 349 laps of racing. However, Split 2 sees three different manufacturers in the top three, courtesy of McLeod Racing Team version 1 with Mercedes, Honda thanks to All In Racing, and Cruise Finest with Hybrid Academy. Bathurst pole sitters in Split 2, BetoSimRacing.de will be looking to prove a point here this weekend, having taken fourth ahead of the 214 Aston Martin from NSN Racing. Over the next few hours this evening, all teams will put their fastest drivers behind the wheel to qualify for this Saturday's race, as Season 2 of the SimGrid VCO World Cup truly hits its stride. It's Alex Goldschmidt and Andy McEwan with you tonight. Andy, we are at one of the most prestigious circuits that is revered in sports car racing, and we have one hell of a qualifying session ahead of us tonight.
Yeah, don't we just? Good evening, everyone. Welcome, wherever you're watching around the world. This is going to be pretty exciting, I think, isn't it? I was so excited to be on the comms team for World Cup action for the first time last time out at the Bathurst 12 Hours, covering the first 4 hours of the race. This, though, is my first taste of the qualifying sessions, and from what I saw and heard about at Mount Panorama last time, this can be every bit as exciting as the race, because it all boils down, doesn't it, to these top 10 shootouts for both splits, with the top 10 teams going out one after the other, each trying to better the previous teams and set the pole position time. And that particular kind of qualifying format, that's one of my favourites, Alex. It really builds to a nice crescendo. And yeah, I think it's safe to say I am pretty excited about what's going to happen over the next couple of hours.
Indeed, we have to say a big thank you to sponsors VCO, AK Informatica, Coach Dave Academy, Thrustmaster, the title sponsor for this event. We'd also like to welcome premium boosting food supplement company Kyalami from Belgium. Of course, we are in their home turf. We'll get on to what they're bringing a little bit later on. But without further ado, how do you wrestle your way around the 7.004 kilometre circuit here at Spa? Let's go on a hot lap and find out. The Bentley Continental GT3 will take us on a hot lap with the iconic Spa-Francorchamps circuit here in the Ardennes. Now across the stripe and heading over to La Source, going down the gears into first, 60 kph on the apex, and then start to build the speed as we descend our way down the hill to two of the most iconic corners in modern day motorsport, pushing over 245 kilometers an hour through Eau Rouge, now up towards the crest of the hill over Radion, using as much curb on the left hand side as you dare before the long run down the Kemmel straight before Les Gommes. So the Bentley now will increase speed and be not too shy off of the rev limiter as we go down from 6 at 265 down to second gear at about 120 kph through the right, through the left, now into the right hander here at Malmedy before we start descending down the hill. And this is where things get truly committed in any sense of the word when it comes to GT3s. Through Bruxelles, second gear at 95 kilometers an hour. Now it's through the left-hander, the corner that effectively has no name before the double left here, originally known as Double Goldschmidt, now known as Pouin. Up to fifth gear, drop down into fourth, 175 on the apex, allow the car to just drift out wide to the right and then coax it back into the left whilst pulling fifth gear. As we now head into Le Fagne, down from 5th at 230 kph down to 2nd, and then he's scrubbing half the speed off through into the next left-hander. 3rd gear at 150, a little bit of snap-on oversteer there, good correction to get through now into Campus and then Stavelot, as you now start to build the acceleration, the speed and the commitment. Up to 4th gear, 200 kph, now pull into 5th gear, and the speed starts to increase through Corporal Frère. Position the car to the correct place as you now go through Blanchimont at over 250 kph in top gear. And now this is the final part of the circuit where you really need to get things right. All the way down the gearbox into first, through the right hander at 60 kph, through the left, and now start to build the speed. And that is a hot lap here in the Ardennes Forest at Spa-Francorchamps. So there is a hot lap around the iconic Spa-Francorchamps circuit. Andy, of course, the Bentley, well revered in racing, but of course with the amount of manufacturers we've got, of which there are 11, it is going to be about a bit of elbows out here at Spa, especially during qualifying tonight. But the race starting at 1 p.m. Central European Summertime on Saturday for once around the clock. It's not about qualifying, but it's also about getting ready to go, isn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely is, and I think we touched upon this quite a bit at Mount Panorama last time, that we might see different cars actually sort of showing their muscles this week, because Mount Panorama, quite a technical circuit, especially across the top of the mountain, that really kind of suits those mid-engine cars. And yet here at Spa, you've got lots of these long sweeping corners. We saw there, on that onboard lap, that there are lots of corners where you're turning for quite a long time at quite a high speed, and that kind of suits the front engine cars. They've got more weight over the front axle, they can keep the front end into the apex a little bit longer. So I expect to see a few different cars really excelling here at Spa this week, and we'll very shortly be able to find out who comes out on top in the qualifying session. Before we do, though, let's have a chat with someone who I'm sure is looking back on the Bathurst 12 hours with mixed feelings, really. Giorgio Simonini joins us now from the GTWR racing team. Giorgio, good evening. Are you pumped and ready to go here at Spa this weekend?
Yeah, indeed. We are all ready. All the 5 teams are ready for the qualifying, and we are really looking forward. especially with the new partnership and collaboration with RAG and Roman getting in. So we're really motivated, and we can't wait to get started in this amazing qualifying of the very known 24-hour of Spa.
Yeah, let's talk about this new alliance that you formed then with the RHG team, Romain Grosjean's official esports team. How did that come about, and what sort of benefits do you expect to take from that as a team?
So it's a pleasure, first of all, to have this kind of collaboration from our side, and I'm really looking forward because this is basically gonna be a huge collaboration in terms of the future. So it's basically GTWR has created, together with Roma, the Academy on ACC. So all the bright talents in the future, or anyone that has been in GTWR and stuff, is working now hard to get this academy at the top level as it was already before. Because the aim is to get all the iRacing drivers from Romain Grosjean team, build their capacities, their skills in ACC, and build together something that could be stronger than it was now. And we are giving this kind of support as a team, as drivers of the GTWR, and this is kind of the collaboration. So we are looking forward, to build this relationship, to build their drivers at the maximum level together with ours, and be stronger together, which is the main goal.
Let's look back, shall we, to Mount Panorama, the Bathurst 12 hours. It was an interesting start of the season for the team, really, wasn't it? Because certainly the 157 car, your car, was bang on the pace for the whole weekend. How disappointing was it to miss out on the race win in the end? Third place was a good result, don't get me wrong, but you'd have liked that win, wouldn't you?
Yeah, we would like. Of course, we wanted to win. There has been, a bad mistake from my side, because I had some macro keys or stuff, so that was a bit unlucky. But at the same time, we are, looking forward to avoid this kind of mistakes in the future. It's something that is teaching us a lot. But indeed, third place was a good result at the end. We don't have to be worried about that, because it's a good starting point, especially from what happened, because we had a lot of issues, drive-through incidents, and 2 incidents. So it was, a good recovery, good pace throughout all the 12 hour. So I believe that at the end we did a very good job, and we are looking forward now to Spa to defend. With 35 kilos, we want to stay in top 20 or top 15. We are gonna try our best. And indeed, we are looking forward with other teams, because we have the GTWR Ferrari with Nurby this evening that is aiming to get pole, we hope. So we have a lot of bright hopes for this evening.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, Giorgio, not just tonight, but with this new venture with the RHG team as well. Thank you for taking some time out to join us. Best of luck for qualifying.
Thanks to you, and good show to everyone. See you in the next one. Bye.
Thanks, Giorgio. Well, Alex, he seems ready. I think he's excited for this qualifying session, but it will be interesting to see, won't it, just how well suited that Audi is to the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. But they're a top team, aren't they? They're bound to be somewhere near the pointy end.
Yes, a top team that will have, as Giorgio stated in the interview with you there, Andy, 35 kilos of ballast. DV1 Triton Racing, that Bentley will be slightly heavier thanks to an additional 40 kilos for picking up the victory just a few weeks ago in early April. So it is the top 15 that will have ballast on this, and this is through the ballast system, the balance of performance, as per the SimGrid VCO World Cup regulations. But also we'd like to bring a couple of things to your attention. Firstly, you saw just before the World Cup intro a new company called Kyalami, based out of Belgium. They do provide premium focus boosting food supplements without caffeine for mental performance, with proven short-term and long-term benefits. As you can see there, you can use the discount code WorldCup15 and head to simgr.id/BC-Calo, and you get 15% off your order. It is vegan. They only contain natural ingredients. It's actually been developed and produced in Belgium in collaboration with a renowned Belgian professor in pharmacology. What's more, Calo even has their own esports performance centre at their headquarters in Antwerp in Belgium, which invites esports teams for boot camps where they focus on topics such as mental preparation for tournaments, nutrition, breathing, sleep, and so on and so forth. And that is very much a part and parcel of endurance racing, like here on the SimGrid VCO World Cup. Along with that, we also have an affiliate deal for you guys and girls out there, courtesy of ExpressVPN. If you sign up for a 12-month agreement, you get 3 months absolutely free. So head to expressvpn.com/the SimGrid. It's the world's largest premium VPN service provider, founded back in 2019. There's 3,000 servers in 160 VPN server locations in 94 different countries. It's available to use on multiple different platforms, so Windows, Mac, Android, and iOS. You can access content anywhere. There's best-in-class encryption. There's 24/7 customer support. So if you are going to sign up for 12 months, courtesy of our affiliate deal with ExpressVPN, you get 3 months absolutely free. And when you're traveling the world, or even if you're at home, it gives you great security and open, strict privacy policy. So no activity logs, no collection logs. So it really, really does give a lot of opportunity for people to have security in mind, especially in these difficult times. Good to see the likes of Niels van der Kerkelt, Alaric Enslin, Unicorns of Love Sim Racing in the chat with us tonight. And Andy, Spa is legendary. It hosts so many different great events, including the Total 24 Hours of Spa, which quite recently held its 70th edition back in the late 2010s. But it's really going to give us a lot of opportunity to just showcase the purchase and also the performance of the cars here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, like Bathurst last time, really, this is a real driver's circuit, isn't it? But there's a little bit of a difference here. It's a bit wider. It's got a much more contemporary feel to it now, hasn't it, Spa, with the various safety changes that have been made to cater for Formula One primarily. But it's high speed. It's flowing, it's got lots of undulation, it's got something to challenge everybody and every kind of car. There are some tight sections through La Source, up through Les Combes, and of course the bus stop chicane at the end of the lap. But then you've got those really high-speed sections through Pouhon, Blanchimont, and of course the famed Eau Rouge Radion section up the hill at the start of the lap. So, if you ask people, even non-motorsport people, to name 3 racetracks, they'll probably name Le Mans, Silverstone and Spa. This is one of those circuits everyone knows, everyone loves, and with good reason.
Indeed, the first of our 2 20-minute qualifying sessions very much underway for the second round of the SimGrid VCO World Cup, the Thrustmaster 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps. The top 10 will get through into the Super Pole shootout a little bit later on this evening, as there is Jonathan Lee in the CMS Pro 911, and you can just see that there is a whole host of cars, and one of the big things is we've got pretty much the best part of nearly 50 cars out on circuit. And last time out, pole position was taken by Vito Simracing.de in the Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo. Wheelspin Esports in the 521, they actually lined up on the front row. XL Racing by Renvelten in the number 69 Honda, they rounded out the top 3. Forza Italia, don't count them out, in the number 500. There is the number 166. It's got Alex Radizzi behind the wheel, as the drivers now are making their way through the further parts of the circuit. So down through into Les Fagnes before heading through into Stavelot before the full run. You can see them starting to weave side to side here, Andy, because now they're building through brakes and also the carcass, the alloy wheels. They're building temperature into the carcass of their tyres and getting ready. But also with these amount of cars out here, slipstreaming is going to be key, but also track position.
Yeah, that's an interesting debate, I think, isn't it? Do you want to run relatively close behind another car in order to get the slipstream through Sector 1 and 3? accepting that you might lose a bit of downforce and lose a bit of time through the middle sector? Or do you go the other way and try and find yourself a clear bit of track, don't worry about the slipstream, but know for a fact that you won't get held up through the technical middle sector? That's going to be really interesting to see. There will definitely be a split strategy, I think, on that one. But you can see here one car that most definitely has gone for the clear air is the way to go strategy is Hugo Merhes in the 737 Aston Martin. And Alex, we're expecting Aston Martin to do well today, aren't we? And indeed throughout the course of this whole event. It's a front engine car. It's got good top end speed. It's got a good front end on it, which will help through the middle sector as well. So expect this car and most of the other Aston Martins to be somewhere near the front.
Yeah, maybe even throw in a few prancing horses from Maranello, as now Hugo Merhes now makes his way down in towards the double left at Pouhon. And that Aston looks to be cornering on rails, literally adhering itself to the tarmac at this fantastic 7.004 kilometre circuit. We now go on board the front splitter cam into the right-hander here at Les Fagnes, and all the while going down the hill, and then before you get into I mean, it's very much sort of a bit of a roller coaster, this circuit here, Andy. You can just see the amount of momentum carried that you need in order to fully apply yourself in putting down a hot lap. And then here comes the real pièce de résistance here, you know, going all the way through to Blanchimont, and you're pushing well over 260 kilometers an hour in 6th gear as you are literally hanging on by the tips of your fingers as Merhes absolutely plants that through. Hard on the brakes, all the way down through the gearbox, down into first, through into the bus stop chicane. So the 737 Aston Martin of Hugo Merhes in the Osmium Times TX3 car about to cross the stripe. What's the lap time going to be from the Aston Martin? A 2:16.7.
Yeah, decent effort that then. So that is the benchmark time for everyone else to beat. But of course, that was the first car in the queue, and already that has been beaten. Jan Kaminski has gone fastest now in another Aston Martin. Merles second. McLaren of Robbie Stapleford goes third. Robbie, a quick sim driver. We've seen him racing in a few things. He puts the McLaren in amongst the Aston Martins. Right now, the top 5 fastest cars, well, in fact, now make that the top 6 fastest cars, include 4 Aston Martins and 2 McLarens, but lap times coming in almost too quickly to keep up. It's still Kaminski with this very slender advantage. And Alex, early days in this session, I know, but the top 3 times are less than half a tenth apart, and that's on a lap time of over 2.25 minutes. That is astonishing.
I think, as I always like to say, you ain't seen nothing yet to those people watching at home, and to you as well, Andy, because now Patrick Schwaber from the Abgefahren community goes 19th, the 2 minute 18.4 for the Ferrari. But at the moment, it is a top 4 lockout for Aston Martin, and then Robbie Stapleford for Rocket Simsport in the number 23 McLaren. And you add into that the number 42. That looks to be Daniel Jose Georges from FS Racing in that car. He's partnered with Patrick Nage and Sheldon Muscat as Jacopo Rampazzo in the number 522 Wheelspin Esports car. Goes around about 19th. Thomas Sivek from Full Boost Racing about to set a lap time. Loving the bright blue and the papaya colours there on the McLaren 720S, as now the 497 crosses the line, goes P8, 2 minutes 17.1. Angelo Tuzzi in the 144 GTWR Ferrari making its way through. So 38 out of the 49 cars have already secured a lap time, and with just over 13 and a half minutes to go, Andy, this is, I think, if memory serves me correctly, the longest circuit out of all 5 this season. And what's more, it's the one where you've really got to nail qualifying right.
You have, because even though it's a 24-hour race and you might be tempted into thinking that where you start doesn't make a huge amount of difference, we've seen, haven't we, time and again, just how competitive these grids are. And if you start down in the 20s somewhere, you're going to be half a minute behind the leaders by the end of lap 1, and it can take you the whole 24 hours to get that time back. So it is really important that you qualify well, and qualifying well right now are the Aston Martins, aren't there? There's a new Aston Martin at the top, though. Jakob Boehm has now gone fastest in the 71 example. Chris Sever has gone second, and now third, making an Aston Martin 1-2, is Alexei Meyer. every time I look at the timing screen, Alex, a new Aston Martin appears at the top of the field. Inside the top dozen now, there are only 2 cars that aren't Aston Martins, and that's a pair of McLarens. The Ferrari here coming across the line. We expected Ferrari to go quickly here, and that is now the highest placed Italian car. It's the number 11 example. Diego Scarpellini goes 10th position, but that is over 7/10 off pole position. So as popular as the Ferrari has proven to be, certainly in the split 1 grid, we're seeing a lot of the prancing horses. At the moment, they're not quite getting to the front, although as I say that, Amos Lorito does go 3rd now in the number 521 Ferraro. Luca Tavinari coming across the line now. He's down in 28th position at the wheel of car number 7, and he jumps inside the top 10 as well. So the Ferraris perhaps taking a lap or 2 longer just to get their tyres up to speed, but now they're there, they are looking competitive.
Yes, indeed. At the moment, the top 15 covered by just over a second. Henri Desprez from Virtual Drivers by TX3 in the number 72. McLaren rounding out the top 34. French driver makes his way through Les Combes at the moment with just over 11.5 minutes to go. But at the minute, this is how close the World Cup has been in terms of qualification. The top 41 cars in Split 2 are now covered by just over 2.6 seconds. And we still have well over half of this session remaining. The top 10 will proceed to the top 10 Super Pole later on this evening. The same will be applicable for Split 1, who will be up next as Henri Desprez absolutely flies it through Pouhon, down through the double left, and starts making his way down the hill. The McLaren also well known for its performance, especially when it has pretty much the same amount of torque as the Aston Martin and the Ferrari. And Robbie Stapleford is 4/10 up. Let's see where he puts the McLaren, up to P9, just over 5.5 tenths off of Boehm in the number 71. That's Gardi Racing. And I've just heard that Scarpellini in the number 11. That's the Leone V Racing team. So Scarpellini is a few tenths up at the moment. Andres Mesa, regular here on the sim grid, running in the number 94 Virtual Life Experience car. It's currently down in 18th at the minute, but we'll see whether the number 94 has anything to put into the party here, as we're about to hit halfway in the session. P4, great lap, and he goes to within 21 thousandths off of Amos Lorito. Here's Vinny Oliveira in the Kings of Asphalt Max and Oil Nissan GTR Nismo, currently running at the top 28, and it's just under 1.2 seconds off of the top time. And to see already, 3 of the cars have already gone into the sub 2 minute 16s. What will Vinny Oliveira do on this particular occasion? Goes P7. Absolutely brilliant effort from the Brazilian. So that puts him P7. So you now have, I mean, I cannot believe that. The Nissan is always a car that doesn't get a lot of love here on the sim grid, but just to see what Vinny Oliveira pulled out of the bag there, Andy, was truly a joy to behold.
Yeah, and a massive improvement on his previous best lap as well, and only 4/10 off pole position. That is massively impressive. Honda went pretty well, didn't they, at Bathurst? The the All-In Racing team came second place, the number 13 car. We're watching them here on screen. 38th quickest at the moment for the team that finished second in the opening round of the championship. Horses for courses is the phrase that springs to mind. That car was really going strongly at Mount Panorama, but here at Spa it appears to be struggling. Let's hope this is going to be an improvement. It's unlikely if he carries on doing that. Noah Harron there with a big moment coming through the first part of Stavolo. I don't know whether he carried too much speed in or whether he was too eager on the loud pedal coming out, but either way there was lots of sliding, lots of wheel spin, and that doesn't just hurt you through that corner, but it hurts you all the way up the hill. It's probably the most important corner to get right on the whole lap, because your exit speed there determines your speed all the way up through Blanchimont and into the bus stop. So the Honda, unfortunately, is going to lose a bit of time there. Let's see, bails for the pit lane sensibly, because, Alex, we are past halfway in the session. If you're going to come in and stick a new fresh set of boots on, now is the time to do it.
Well, let's keep our eyes on Luca Tavinari from Rookie Monsters. He's just invalidated his flying lap, which is not what you want to do around Spa-Francorchamps, especially with just under 8 minutes in this first part of Split 2 qualifying. As Andreas Messer actually, that is going through, coming out of Le Fagne. and heading down towards Stavelot. Jonathan Lee is currently 3/10 up at the moment in the number 911 car. He's actually 8/10 up, so that will put him probably the best part of towards into the top 35, maybe. Probably ahead of Patrick Schraber in the number 174. And that is the Abgefahren community. Seems like there's a little bit of love in the chat for them, as the track temperatures very much the microclimate of Spa-Francorchamps. Cloudy and 11 degrees on the track. That's not really a good way to try and get heat into your tyres, because you've got to switch them on pretty quickly here, Andy.
Yeah, it makes life a little bit tricky initially on cold tyres, but actually cool temperatures, that's the best sort of conditions for quick lap tyres, because the engine runs efficiently, tyres don't overheat, and on such a long lap as this, you can really notice some tyre drop off between the start of the lap and the end. But if you've overcooked your tyres through the middle sector, then you won't have as much grip towards the end of the lap as you had at the start. So it is actually probably not a bad thing that it's a bit chilly out there. Sergei Skidanov there running a bit wide down the hill, down in 49th place at the moment, the number 92 Aston Martin. No change at the top, by the way. It's still Jakob Boehm who has the pole position, now by over a tenth and a half over Chris Sever in second. The Ferrari of Amos Lorito is third. Andres Messa is in fourth position, and Angelo Tuzzi's Ferrari in fifth. But we are likely to see some more improvements here, because Skidanov is one of a couple of drivers here who haven't actually set a lap time yet, presumably through lap times being disallowed because of track limits. If you run too wide over the exit curbs, or indeed on the inside of the corners, and you invalidate the lap time, as Alex was just touching on, then that's it. That lap does not count. You have to go again. And there are lots of places around here, aren't there, Alex, where you can end up exceeding track limits. You don't necessarily gain any time from it, but it doesn't matter. The lap time will be deleted regardless, and that can really mess up your session.
And also mess up your starting position on the grid for the Thrustmaster 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps. Just heard that Chris Sever is about 3/10 up, so that could put him in the 2:15.6s as Skidanov now crosses the line. Christopher Streppen in the number 214, obviously from these parts as well. He's been racing quite a lot with the NSN team, and they came fifth in Split 2 last time at Mount Panorama. So it's just in many respects how things are going to happen. 5 minutes to go in the session, and at the moment I'm just seeing that the 144 Angelo Tuzzi goes up into second position, so breaks the Aston Martin. And Christopher Streppen is looking rather handy in the number 214 for NSN, coming out of the bus stop chicane, and goes across the line. P24 for the Aston Martin. Christopher gunning for pole position. Let's just have a look. What does the Aston Martin do? 2 minute 15.639, and drops Boehm in the 71 down to second position by just over a tenth of a second. And looking at this, Tuzzi is exactly 0.12 behind Boehm, and then you've got the 521. This is how right on the money all of these top four teams are. Amos Lorito has got it to within 0.12 of Tuzzi, but it looks like Hugo Melhez looking to trying to go for pole position, goes P6 and is 3/1000 slower than the Aston Martin of Andreas Messa. Hannes Nordmann in the Sim RC Endurance team is currently in 7th position in the number 76, making his way out through Lifagne down into Stavelot, and maybe by having that Honda just up ahead, this could help with a little bit of slipstream assistance on this hot lap here, Andy.
Yeah, let's hope he hasn't lost too much time in the middle sector, though, because of it. Remember I said earlier on, it's a trade-off. You want the draft up the hill through Radion, and then again up the hill towards Blanchimont at the end of the lap, but you don't really want it through the middle sector. Now, Amos Lorito here might have timed it right, because he's got a McLaren ahead of him. That's going to be towing him all the way up the hill. Remember that Lorito is 4th quickest at the moment, only needs to find just over a tenth of a second, though, to move 3rd and become the highest placed Ferrari ahead of Angelo Tuzzi. Is he going to catch that McLaren too quickly into the chicane? I think he might do. We've had some improvements, by the way. Daniel Nyman has just gone 7th place. That's the first time I've seen the 4-ringed logo anywhere near the top of my timing screen. Audi then into the top 10. Lorito comes across the line, and it's going to be no improvement that time. I think he just got held up slightly by the McLaren ahead of him. Sebastian Dreyer, though, is going to improve. He goes 12th place now from 20th, so the number 69 Honda moves its way towards the front. And Jan Kaminski here, who I seem to remember at the start of the session was right up there in the conversation for pole position. Well, now the 999 car finds itself down in 18th position. But is he going to be able to improve? He's got this nice bit of clear air around him, no traffic impeding him going into this middle sector, and you can see here, riding on board now with Kaminski, why you don't want somebody in front of you, because as Alex was saying earlier on, it is all about momentum. It's not a stop-start circuit like some others are. Here at Spa, it's all about carrying that speed through the corners, downhill as well here through Pujon, and you don't want someone in front of you going slower through the turns, because that will kill your lap time. On board with him now, then heading back uphill now for the remainder of the lap. First of all, into the tricky Les Fagnes chicane. The right-hander into the left, used just the right amount of curb, but not too much. Easy to lose the rear of the car there. Also easy to exceed track limits, which I think Kaminski was flirting with, but he just about stayed within the boundary. Now through the right-hander at Stavlo. Critical that you get off this corner right and don't understeer too wide on the exit. Nicely done. We ride on board. We can see him at the wheels. And you can see there that timer on the middle of the dash just ticking towards 2 minutes. Pole position, remember, is a 2 minutes 15.6 right now. The majority of the top 10, though, are somewhere inside the 16s. And don't forget, this is all about getting into that top 10 shootout. Kaminski is 18th at the moment, and we think that he is improving on this lap. Is it going to be enough, though, to move him into that pivotal top 10? Out of the bus stop, nicely gets the power down, not too much wheel spin, comes across the start-finish line, and Kaminski goes 10th, so he just sneaks in, Alex.
Oh, Vinny Oliveira's hard work has just come undone, and that is by literally 21 thousandths of a second. Amos Lorito in the Wheelspin Esports car is currently 3 tenths up. This could be nip and tuck here for him, and also for Amos Lorito, and also Chris Sever, who's on provisional top times, goes to within 60 thousandths of a second. So, but Chris Sever again is up on the times as he makes his way through in towards Blanchimont, and neatly takes that corner in that Aston Martin. Chris Sever partnered by Sasha Glatter in Sprint Cup Season 3. They're running in the Nissan in that particular championship. And look, Chris Sever on going for it. And just keep an eye. He's gone quicker by over 3 tenths. That's an absolutely alien-esque lap there from Chris Sever from Black Hawk Racing. Wow. And what's more, the timer for Split 2 initial qualifying here at the Thrustmaster 24 hours of Spa-Francorchamps has come to 0. And now we're back with Scarpellini in the Leone V Racing team. 11 Ferrari down in 18th position, but has to make up at least 0.26 of a second to make it into the top 10. And Melher's back up by 2 tenths, goes P4 in the session. So a good showing by Osmium by TX3 as Scarpellini now makes his way out of Stavlo. And now the Ferrari with its 3.9 litre twin turbo mid-mounted V8 engine pushing out over 700 Newton meters of torque. And it sounds like that Vinny Oliveira's last-ditch effort to get the Nissan back into the top 10 has just been given that killer blow due to a last invalidated hot lap as Scarpellini decides to pull it into the pits. His VIG project Stratos Thomas Truffaut in the number 888. Currently in 16th position. And I'm just hearing that whether Marcel Fusi, Mr. Super Saturday, has missed out on the top 10 by just under half a tenth of a second. Puts the Aston Martin P12. But Chris Sever with an absolutely inhumane lap at 2 minute 15.354 has literally put the cat amongst the proverbial pigeons here at Spa-Francorchamps. Luca Tavanari coming through into Stavlo now in the number 7 Rookie Monsters Ferrari. Just over a second off of provisional top time in this session, courtesy of Chris Sever. It's flirting very much with that, but that is it for Split 2 initial qualifying that will decide the top 10. So provisionally, it is the 81 of Black Hawk Racing, Chris Savert, the 521 of Willspin Esports, Amos Lorito, Jakob Boehm in the 71 Gadi Racing, Aston Martin, Hugo Merhez in the 737 Aston, Angelo Turzi in the 144 GT R8 G Academy car down in 5th. And then we've got Andres Meza in the 94 Virtual Life Experience car. But, well, everyone's been waiting for what, that Split 2 was just a taster. It was the aperitif for the next bit, which is Split 1 20-minute qualifying, Andy. I think we could be seeing times closer to the 2:14s tonight if the track conditions stay as they are.
Yeah, I think so, and I think we're also going to keep seeing very, very close qualifying session, aren't we? Because there is very little to choose, and actually the exception there being Sever, who was 3.5 tenths quicker than anybody else, but the rest of the field very tightly bunched, and that means that order is not likely to stay the same once we get into that top 10 shootout, because I think there are going to be some teams that if they can just find even a tenth of a second, that could bump them up an extra row or two on the grid. So, that's how qualifying should be. That's how tight we want it to be. And I agree with you. Going into Split 1, the level of competition now should take that extra step forward. The speed, of course, is going to go up now. That's the whole idea. Split 1, these are the fastest teams, the fastest drivers racing in the SimGrid World Cup. And that has whetted the appetite quite nicely here for this upcoming session.
Yeah, so the teams that will be running with ballast will be the current points leaders, DV1 Triton Racing, the number 111 Bentley, they've got 40 kilos. Odox Motorsport in the 121, 37 kilos. GTWR R8G Academy 157 Audi, 35 kilos. Fourth, it's WPS in the 21 Audi. They get 26 kilos, 25 for Sim Racing Masterclass in the 777 Bentley. Then sixth position, which is the Elvis Grattan team in the Honda NSX, who actually set the fastest lap of the race at Mount Panorama in early April this year. So these top 6 teams are really going to be having to fight. But then when you look at teams like the number 15 of Lada Sport Rosneft, with the likes of Igor Ogorodnikov in that team, amongst others, this is going to be really interesting. And now qualifying underway, Sven Rosenbaum in the number 77 MRL Sim Racing car, 77 McLaren, finished 42nd last time out, so no points on the board for the team. However, it is the top 30 that do score points towards the championship. And there are a couple of developments. There are a couple of no shows this evening, but they have withdrawn through the regulations as per the SimGrid VCO World Cup. No McLaren Shadow this time around, so no Elvin Smith, Brandon Abraham, Tobin Lee and James Baldwin in the number 55. Haupt Racing have also withdrawn. However, Daniel Murad and SG Stern in the 199 has been replaced by Lucas Müller for this round, so we will have 46 cars set to qualify, I think. And effectively here, Andy, this is where we're going to see some really, really big names, the likes of Amir Hosseini, Wolf Matushka, Jack McIntyre, Marius Tvorzidlo, amongst others. This is where the real big show happens.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the main event, isn't it? And the competition we saw at Bathurst was just exceptional amongst these Split 1 drivers, and the qualifying times really backed that up, didn't they? I mean, the 8 teams that set competitive lap times in the top 10 shootout at Bathurst within Split 1 all lapped within 7 tenths of each other, and actually the top 7 within 4 tenths of each other. So, when you're competing in Split 1, you have to be wheel perfect all the time. The slightest mistake, be that in qualifying or in the race, is going to cost you massively, because the strength in depth in this field is just so incredibly high. And for example, in qualifying here, if you drop a couple of tenths of a second, that's going to cost you certainly 10 positions, maybe more if you're in that midfield. So you've got to be perfect, and that means the pressure on these drivers' shoulders is immense. But they've done one or two of these before, haven't they? These are some very, very experienced sim racers, people who know the cars very well, they know the track like the back of their hands, and now they just need to try and safely navigate this 20-minute session, get themselves into that top 10. That's objective number one. If you have aspirations of winning this race, you want to try and get yourself into the top 10 shootout. I think, Alex, if you can start anywhere inside that top 10, you're going to be happy. If you're starting 25th, less so, but if you can get into that top 10, that's a solid start to your weekend.
One team that will be looking to do that have got one of their fastest pedallers behind the wheel, Unicorns of Love, with Yura Petrichenko behind the wheel of the number 14 Aston Martin, who now makes their way down through into Eau Rouge and Radiant, pushing at about 5th gear, well over 250 kph through into Eau Rouge. You do a little bit of a lift off the throttle, allowing the car to not sort of break traction, but to compose yourself going through Radiant, now down the long Camel Straight. And the good thing is that Yura Petrichenko has got a little bit of track position on that particular occasion, and also has the Griffax engineering car just up ahead. They've got Jonas Salvalainen just behind Griffax engineering, qualified in, they got into the Super Pole shootout back at Mount Panorama, but invalidated their lap within the first couple of corners, I think, before they even exited Hell Corner, and that's not what you wanted to do. Griffax Engineering finished 18th after 347 laps. There's Sven Rosenbaum now making his way through Blanchimont. The 720S McLaren GT3 looks rather stable at this particular moment in time. 540 brake horsepower produced from that 4-litre twin-turbo V8 mounted in the mid part of that car. And he goes across the line. That is a 2 minutes 16.545, but an invalidated lap time. But it is the number 28 initially that goes up to the top of the timesheets. That was Beck in the Audi, but already we're into the 215s, courtesy of Kevin Ciclari in the 191, and it's already a top 3 lockout for Aston Martin. Igor Ogorodnikov is behind the wheel of the number 41 Lada Sport Rosneft car. That will have 10 kilos of ballast as they finished P15 at Mount Panorama. Mikhail Stetsenko in the Yazid Pirelli McLaren goes across the line. 11th place for the McLaren. Ciclari just, oh my goodness me, look at the gap between first, second and third. We got 2 Aston Martins and a BMW, and what's more, the BMW is being piloted by BMW Team G2 Esports Niels Neuox from Germany. Watch out, a BMW is coming to spoil the party for Aston Martin, I believe.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Neuox is always on the pace, isn't he? And you're right, just 36 thousandths away from pole position. A 2:15.9 then. There's more time to be had than that, isn't there? Because remember, our fastest time in Split 2 was a 2:15.3, all things being equal, which they are. That's the whole point of this sim racing, with the track temperature and ambient temperature the same between the sessions. We should see the lap times going a little bit quicker than that, maybe even flirting with a 2:14 by the end of the session. But Ciclari with a decent banker lap. I would expect that, though, to be improved upon. Chris Herker here in the number 9 Lamborghini makes its way down through Stavolo then. Number 9 is all the way down in 13th at the moment. This isn't necessarily known for being an exceptional Lamborghini circuit, but the Huracan should work well through that middle sector. Whether it's got the grunt up the hills is the question mark, really. We're about to find out, I suppose, because he's only a couple of corners from home now, the end of what will be his second full flying lap of the session, and dropped down to 14th place now then since I started talking about him, but we should see him leap up a little bit more now. Tyres starting to get into their ideal operating temperature, and Heike is going to come across the start-finish line then and move the 720 absolutely nowhere. Stays in no, he does, sorry, excuse me, he moves up into 8th position then, the highest placed of the Lamborghinis. It is a different kind of Italian machinery though on top at the moment. Michele Nerbi has put the number 91 Ferrari onto provisional pole, or fastest in the session. Henrik Gambol goes second in the 995 Aston Martin. But here we're seeing Jack McIntyre coming into the bus stop chicane. Niels Neuox is ahead of him. So 2 potentially quick drivers here. BMW will cross the line first. Neuox has been dropped down to 6th as a result of other people improving. That, though, is old news. He goes to pole position. A 2:15.510 is a new fastest lap in the session, Alex, by just over a tenth of a second.
I did say watch out for Yuri Petrichenko, puts the number 14 Unicorns of Love Aston Martin up into P4. So the top 5 rounded out by Racing Lines, very own Kevin Ciclari. That's the top 5 covered by just over 0.36 of a second. As Chris Hartveld, another one from the GTWR R8G Academy, in the number 3 team car, which is the number 32 Ferrari, down in 20th position. But this is even closer in Split 1 because the top 20, which Hartveld is currently rounding out, is covered by just under 7/10 of a second. Hartveld goes P9 behind Marius Tvorzidlo in the number 720 McLaren, and that is Carbon Simsport. Mike Noble in the FFS Racing Aston Martin comes out of the bus stop chicane, currently P22, just over 6.5 tenths behind, and goes P4. That's a great lap there from Mike Noble. And again, Aston Martin now are occupying 6 out of the top 10, heading into the second half of this session. But Niles Noyox from BMW Team G2 Esports. The BMWs always tend to go well around here at Spa-Francorchamps.
Yeah, again, big, heavy front-engine car, so it does stick to the track quite well through these high-speed corners. Tell you what though, McLaren looking good here because Sven Rosenbaum is on for a decent lap, jumps into the top 10 now, goes 6th position. James Bacon now is on the bubble, if you like, in 10th position. And look how tight it is. You've got James Bacon, in fact he's out of the top 10 now because Alban Bouquet has put the Audi into 10th position, and into second fastest in the session goes Kevin Ciclari there in the Aston Martin. Henry Gamble now is the next to come across the start-finish line. He was 4th. And goes to the top by 39 1,000, so 2:15.471 then. 39 thousandths quicker than Noyox in second position. And Michele Nurby now is down in 4th position in the Ferrari, but it is so exceptionally tight, not just at the front, but at the back end of that top 10. Now on the bubble is Alban Bouquet in that Audi, having just jumped into 10th position. He's knocked out though now because improving into 5th position is Mikhail Statsenko in the McLaren. That bubble is changing almost by the second, isn't it? Because the drivers that are just outside of the top 10, Alex, they're only outside, in many cases, by a tenth or a tenth and a half. So we're seeing more and more teams now putting on a bit of a late spurt of speed here and jumping into that top 10.
Yeah, Igor Ogorodnikov needs to get a move on. He needs to hustle that Aston Martin because he's on the bubble. He's in 11th position at the moment. So Michele Nurby trying to absolutely exceed, well, close to exceed track limits there in the GTWR number 91 Ferrari. Currently in 4th place, just under a tenth and a half separates the top 4. And when you look at the manufacturers, there are 4 different manufacturers in the top 5. So it's Aston Martin leads from BMW, an Aston Martin, a Ferrari and a McLaren. And that is 4 out of the 11 manufacturers. Karim Mattea from in the Aston Martin decides to pull into the pit lane. Michele Nurby looks to be improving. And where does he go? And he lost out a bit of time. Michael Tauscher very much hustling the Sidemax Motorworks 211 car. And he's partnering with the likes of Magic Malinowski and Kilian Ryan Meenan. Michele Nurby going around for another hot lap in the Ferrari. Jack McIntyre for Rocket Simsport all the way down in 38th. And this is how close Split 1 has become. 1.1 seconds. And Jack McIntyre on that previous lap was just 6 thousandths of a second behind Wolf Matuszka from Pink Performance. And McIntyre, I've just heard, has invalidated his lap time. So this is where things get rather dicey. And now with the top 10 covered by just 0.378 seconds, Danilo Santoro from the Jean Alesi Esports Academy, the 27 Ferrari, about to cross the stripe. Down in 43rd, goes up to 37th. Still needs to wind up the volume on that Ferrari to number 11 and see whether he can get into or close to the top 20. Because with 8 minutes left on the bubble for qualifying here, Andy, it's all about making sure you're precision perfect here at Spa-Francorchamps.
Yeah, and there are some big names here struggling, aren't they? We know that the success ballast was always going to play a part here, but Tobias Pfeffer, who is in for the GTWR 157 team, the team that were on the pole position last time, remember, at Bathurst, they're only down in 19th place at the moment, and second place at Bathurst last time was the 111 car, and that finds itself in the hands of Dominic Blyer, all the way down in 36th. There are lots of our heavy hitters from Bathurst who just don't have the pace now, partly because of success ballast, certainly for those who finished inside that top 15 in the race itself at Mount Panorama, but also because this is a very different track. It's suiting different driving styles, different cars. What can the 194 Bentley Continental do here then? It's down in 47th at the moment. This is one of two cars that hasn't, in fact no, it is now the only car that hasn't set a representative time because of track limits, seeing lap times being disallowed. But Akos Getfan comes across the start-finish line, improves slightly, gets a lap on the board though, that's the main thing, goes 44th. Chris Herker here, who earlier on in the session was troubling the top 10, is now down in 25th position as it stands, and he's making his way out of Stavlo and up the hill once again. It is still, though, incredibly tight. On the bubble now in 10th position is Giannis Charadakis in the number 34 Aston Martin, but Raffaele Di Nardo, who's 11th quickest, is only 9 1,000ths behind it. So 9 1,000ths at the moment, separating the 11th placed car from getting into that all-important top 10. What about James Bacon? He's just outside the top 10. Can't improve on 15th place, though, at the end of that lap, so he stays where he is. Mikhail Tauschka here in the number 211 Aston Martin. Well, he is relatively comfortable inside the top 10, but if he can go a little bit further up the top 10, that rather makes a point, doesn't it, to the other teams that this is going to be one of the cars challenging for the pole position in our top 10 shootout a little bit later on. Turns into the bus stop, through the right, through the left. It's so easy to ruin a good lap through those last two corners. Could this actually go to the top of the pile? It's going to be very close indeed. Oh, talk about close. 18 1,000ths of a second. And now, Alex, the top four, yes, the top four teams are covered by only just over half a tenth.
I thought qualifying at Mount Panorama was close. This is just taking the biscuit well and truly. We've got just under 5.5 minutes of the session to go. So that was an epic lap. So, yeah, Michael Tauscher from Sidemax Motorworks putting in the real hard work. And that now gives Aston Martin pretty much the top two here as well. Arnaud Lecombe from AAA Esports in the number 92 is on the bubble for possibly getting into the top 10. As the Aston Martin now makes its way into the bus stop chicane, all the way from 6th down to first gear. And through, coming out of the chicane, comes Lecombe and goes across the line. P6. So that drops Sven Rosenbaum out, and then the 666 of Di Nardo comes in and says to Rosenbaum, well, you maybe want to drop another place because I'm going a bit quicker by about 6,000ths of a second. And then from Rosenbaum to Hjordakis, it's another 6,000ths. That's how close this qualifying is being decided. And this is only for getting into the top 10.
It's remarkable, isn't it? And we also had another improvement, by the way, whilst you were talking there. Andrea Miato has moved the 164 GTWR racing team Aston Martin into the top 10 as well. So we are seeing some changes there towards the back of the top 10. He is now in by about half a tenth of a second. James Bacon is on the outside looking in, 16th place at the moment for the 125 Aston Martin, and goes 9th, gets into that top 10 now, does James Bacon. Not by a huge amount, though. He is safe by, again, about half a tenth, really. He's 3 1,000ths slower than the 8th place McLaren and Mikhail Statsenko. Karim Matea comes through. He was 27th and stays where he is. But yes, James Bacon then gets himself into the top 10, but with just over 3.5 minutes to go, Alex, he is not guaranteed to stay there.
No, here's Darren King in the number 38 Aston Martin, down in 28th position, and is just over 6.5 tenths off of what was an epic lap from Henrik Gambal in the 995 entry, which has been showed that the top two covered by just 18,000ths of a second. I hate to think what that is in terms of distance, but it's probably going to be a matter of centimetres between those two. But Darren King now making his way through in towards Blanchimont, one of the fastest parts of the circuit here in terms of corner apex speeds. He absolutely flies it through, neatly does it for the number 38. And hits the brakes hard down the gearbox once again as we ride on board on the car itself. And he's going to come through out of the bus stop chicane, put the pedal to the metal and unleash that full 700 newton meters of torque from that car. And that was actually an improvement. Yura Petrichenko, but does not improve on position. Petrichenko is on the bubble. He's actually dropped down into 12th position because Bacon's gone 3 thousandths slower than Statsenko. But what can Petrichenko do? And Petrichenko, that was a 2 minutes 16.4. Gianfranco Gigoli in the MCW eSport Audi down in 24th position. Now makes his way through into the bus stop chicane. The Audi comes across towards the line and goes P15 behind Hyorodakis. Igor Ogorodnikov has time but doesn't have much on his side. I will give him that much. 1 minute and 47 seconds still to go on the clock, and Ogorodnikov now coming through the exit of Lifagne. Looks to have the 25 of Pink Performances, Wolf Matuszka, just up ahead, and Matuszka at the moment is not in the top 50, top 10 either, I believe. So, yeah, that's a very difficult set of circumstances for them. But you can just see how hard these drivers are pushing. The top 27, Andy, covered by just over 0.6 of a second. That's ridiculously quick.
Yeah, it is. And we've got another new car in the top 10 now as well. Raffaele Di Nardo went in a minute or two ago, so he's into 8th position. What can Ogorodnikov do then? This car is carrying a bit of ballast, but only a small amount because they finished 15th at Bathurst and they go into the top 10. That's more like it. Igor Ogorodnikov goes 8th quickest now, and that knocks James Bacon out of the top 10 by an enormous 3 1,000ths of a second. James Bacon will be furious at that. And now into the top 10 goes Janis Choudakis into 10th place then. So that actually now means that it's Mikhail Statsenko who's out of the top 10. Jack McIntyre goes 26th position. We've got, well, very little time left on the clock. We've got about 25 seconds or so left. Michele Nurby here in 5th position is kind of avoiding much of the drama here. He's going for a really good lap here if he can get it, but all of the action is at the bottom of the top 10. Di Nardo needs a good lap now to make himself safe. He was 9th fastest originally, and he stays there. He'll just have time for one more lap if he wants it, or if the tyres are good enough. Petrichenko next, 14th place at the moment. Is this enough to get into the top 10? Yes, it is! 4th quickest for Petrichenko, and he's another driver now within a 10th of a second of pole position. The top 5 drivers now in this session covered by 63 1,000ths of a second, and the gap between being in and out of the top 10, the gap between 10th and 11th at the moment, is just less than 400ths.
Now this is how bad the ballast is hurting teams. Okay, Alberto Garcia from Odox down in 46. Round 1 winners, DV1 Triton down in 37th. So they're not going to get an opportunity. Bacon takes 6th place. Di Nardo's dropped out of the top 10. Here comes Michele Nurby, and he's up on his time, and he's looking to go for pole. If he gets a 10th and a half, he's 4 tenths up. This is going to be very, very quick indeed. Oh, he loses a bit of time, but still by 21 thousandths, he's got the top of the timesheet. The top 6 covered by 84 thousandths of a second. Hyorodakis going for top 10, and if he does, then that could mean that Ogorodnikov will be out of the top 10 even with 10 kilos of ballast. Bouquet goes 13th with a 2 minute 15.729. Michael Hamlet's having fits of coughing in my ears at the moment. Statsenko is doing his level best to get the Yazhit Pirelli car a bit further up the order. Can't make it through. P14 on exactly the same lap time as Chris Hartfeld. Marius Twardsidlo from Carbon Simsport down in 23rd. What does the McLaren have to say? Goes P18. And there's still cars going. Marco Macri from Racing Line Motorsport in the 194, now heading towards Blanchimont for the final time. Robin Porgado from GTRC Endurance Team in the Porsche qualifies 42nd. Wolf Matushka 39th. Amir Hosseini in the Sim Racing Masterclass 777 Bentley down in 35th position. Marco Macri now coming out of the bus stop chicane in the Bentley Continental GT3. Is there an improvement? No, not quite. But you know what's really funny though? Igor Ogorodnikov from Lada Sport Rosneft has just scraped in on exactly the same lap time as Yanis Chorodakis on the exact same lap time. It went to the fact that Ogorodnikov set the lap time first, so Lada Sport and Rosneft make it into the top 10 shootout, and what's more, the top 10 cars covered by 0.222 of a second. Mind-blowingly close.
Wow, that was exciting, wasn't it? And that's not even the top 10 shootout. That hasn't actually decided who's going to be on pole position. But yeah, that was remarkable. I'd spotted that Ogorodnikov was under some pressure, but scrapes in by absolutely nothing in the end. The lap time exactly the same of that as Chardakis in 11th position. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. And if you thought that was good, then, as I think Alex used the phrase earlier on, you ain't seen nothing yet, because now we start moving into those top 10 shootouts. And, well, if it continues to be as exciting as that was, Alex, then I'm not sure I can take it. This has been remarkable. And actually, I think that we can have a word with the man of the moment after that session. Yegor Ogorodnikov joins us now. Yegor, well done. What an incredibly close qualifying session. And you just did enough to get in. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. Very glad to hear in P10.
Yeah, I mean, it was super close there. You set in the end the exact same lap time as the 11th placed car, but the whole field is so evenly matched this week, isn't it?
Yep. My lap was too hard. I was drifted in turn 10. But that was much quick, and now I'm in P10. I'm too glad. Yeah, a little bit nervous now. Sorry.
Well, yeah, because this means that you have to do it all again now, don't you? You've just scraped into the top 10 shootout. What's the game plan? Are you confident you can go even quicker now in the top 10 shootout?
Honestly, I don't want to think about hot stint now. I just will wait for my lap and do all my best. We'll try.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, Yegor. Congratulations on getting into the top 10 at least, and yeah, best of luck for this top 10 shootout.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, Alex, what a taster for what's to come, because we've got the top 10 shootouts around the corner. Absolutely phenomenally close. You know, I thought on such a long circuit as this at Spa, and with quite a lot of really demanding corners through that middle sector in particular, I really expected there to be more of a spread of lap times than we're seeing tonight, but it is so tight, and that gives us all of the ingredients for a truly thrilling pair of top 10 shootouts.
Definitely the case, Andy, because these teams have been hard at work behind the scenes, irrespective of their current commitments, to really go for broke here at the Thrustmaster 24 hours of Spa-Francorchamps. A big thank you to you all for tuning in for tonight. Super Pole for Split 2 will be starting in about 3 minutes time. So the format, it is basically one car goes out, does its out lap, and then does a hot lap around here. We've seen it at Mount Panorama, where you've got to be on your A game. You've got to get the hot lap done, otherwise you're going to be at the bottom part of that top 10. For those wondering about when the race will be taking place, it is this coming Saturday, so in less than 48 hours time. It starts at 1 p.m. Central European Summertime here on the Sim Grid. And, well, we've got quite a few people that you'll recognise in terms of the SimGrid commentary team. Lewis McGlade, David Christie. We'll also have Daniel Handover, Ewan O'Leary. Myself will be on there. And we even have a certain person by the name of Angus Fender. Anyone might remember the British GT esports that recently happened. Well, he was competing in that. He's joining the commentary team for that one. It's going to be an absolute barnstormer. I mean, 24 hours of racing here at Spa-Francorchamps. A big thank you once again to our partners, Coach Dave Academy, Thrustmaster, VCO, AK Informatica, Calo, and also ExpressVPN. Don't forget, you can go and get your respective deals. So for Calo, it's a 15% discount off of your order. Head to that particular link, put in the discount code World Cup 15, and then also for ExpressVPN, you can also get 3 months free if you sign up for 12 months. Head to expressvpn.com/the SimGrid. Don't forget, you can follow us on all the relevant social media channels on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. And don't forget, if you are enjoying what you're seeing at the moment, don't forget to hit the subscribe and notification button and the notification bell. And also, if you're enjoying what you're seeing tonight, because we've got still more to come here, hit the like button. And also, there's plenty of action still to go. On this month, we've got plenty of action in terms of the Sprint Cup Season 3 finale, which actually takes place next Thursday evening, and that will be at the Suzuka International Racing Course. We'll also have the likes of more female racers by Thrustmaster Rockets, who had a really, really good turnout at Monza this past Monday. They're actually heading here to the Liège region of Belgium. We'll have probably a few more familiar voices in that as well. We've also got, to round off the month of May, we'll have Endurance Cup Season 3 by Thrustmaster. That will be the 6 hours of Monza. That will be on the 29th of May. But Andy, we've had the sort of like the mental side of qualifying, where you see everyone all in sundry trying to qualify for the top 10. But now this is where the real pressure cooker situation comes in.
That was kind of the aperitif, wasn't it? And now we move on to the main course, and things, thankfully, a little bit easier to follow now, because we have narrowed it down to just these 10 cars. They go one after the other. You don't have 3,000 things all happening at the same time, and Michael Hamlet having a fit trying to fill us in with all of the information that at all of the time in the main qualifying session. But I quite like this, because it builds now up to the very quickest cars, and those that are going later, they can sit and watch how the early teams get on, and they can, react to that. Teams that go early, of course, if they can put in a really good lap time, they can really apply the pressure to some of the teams that were perhaps quicker than them in the initial qualifying sessions. So there's lots of mind games here. The psychology of motor racing is something that really, really interests me, and it's absolutely present in sim racing too. They'll all be sat at home watching the stream, I'm sure, or watching in session as the others go out there and try and beat their time. So really looking forward to this.
Right, looks like we're about to get things underway. If memory serves me correctly, I've just seen... So we're going to go to our very first hot lap in just a second. Looks like the... So that will be the 999 KEK Sim Racing. And that will have Jan Kaminski behind the wheel. Now Jan Kaminski and Yannick Hamer also competing in Sprint Cup Season 3, currently running in the Lexus RCF, if memory serves me correctly. So they're going to be the first ones to go out. And the warm-up is going to be rather crucial for this hot lap here, Andy, because you want to make sure that, as Tom Christensen once said, that you want to keep your weapon sharp. Well, that's very important around here at Spa.
Exactly, because we saw, didn't we, in the initial qualifying sessions that it wasn't the first lap for most cars that was the quickest. They got quicker on lap 2, 3, even lap 4, because you need the tyres to be in the ideal operating window. They're not going to be in the ideal operating window after just one out lap from the pit lane. You can do all of the weaving around that you like, but you're not going to get the tyres fully up to temperature. So for all of the drivers that are about to head out there now, that first run through Eau Rouge and Radion and then hitting the brakes into Stavelot is going to be a bit of a voyage into the unknown. You won't have quite as much grip as you'd like. Therefore, expect the lap times to perhaps be a little slower maybe than they were in the previous sessions. Remember, the fastest time that we saw in the Split 2 qualifying session was a 2 minute 15.354. So that was set by Sever, of course, at the wheel of the number 81, Aston Martin. So it'll be interesting to see just how close to that they can get. Also interesting to see the split of manufacturers, isn't it? 7 Aston Martins in this top 10 shootout, with 2 Ferraris and 1 Audi. So 7 front-engine cars, all of them Aston Martins, and 3 mid-engine cars, kind of sticking to the script we were handed beforehand, isn't it, Alex? That those front-engine cars, especially the Astons, were going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, very much the case, as now Jan Kaminski will gear himself up, let the red mist descend behind the visor, and go to be our first, well, I wouldn't say unwilling, I'd say very willing guinea pig around these conditions, because the track temperature has dropped once again to 10 degrees Celsius. So Kaminski down the gears into first, tight into the apex here at the source, and will then run his way down, up the gears, pushing through the rev limiter, up to 5th gear. Speed increasing, 245 kilometers an hour on the approach through into Eau Rouge, and at 243 on the crest of Radion, Kaminski is absolutely fired up for this hot lap. He's the one that's got to set the benchmark.
Yep, down the Kemmel Straight then into the Les Combes section at the top of the hill. Brake just on the curb there, just at the start of the curb on the left-hand side. You want to ride the curb through the right, but not so much through the left. It's quite slippy, that left-hand curb. And then again, don't take too much, tempting as it is on the entry, because look, it can hop the car out wide over that exit curb before you drop downhill into Rivage. This is the corner that every single car on the planet suffers from understeer through, because you drop down a huge elevation change there through the right-hander, and then similarly through the next left-hander, no-name corner, before they drop down into Pouhon. This has been a decent lap. The run through Les Combes was a little bit scrappy maybe, but no major mistakes so far. Double apex left-hander at Pouhon didn't run too wide through the first apex, so maybe could have carried an extra mile an hour or so through there. You're free to use that bit of curb in between the two parts of Pouhon if you wish to. This looks decent though for Kaminski, doesn't it? Heads down towards the double right-hander at Stavelot, and this, Alex, this is the one you want to get right. If you're too eager on the loud pedal here, it will hurt you all the way up the hill. Nicely done though, uses just the right amount of runoff area, and now heads his way up towards the final part of the lap.
So building the speed at over 220 kph and climbing up the rev limiter through into what is now going to be 6th gear, 255 kilometers an hour through the approach, through into Blanchimont. He topped out at 258 on the speedo, and now hard on the brakes, all the way down from 6th, all the way through the gearbox. Jan Kaminski here in Split 2 Superpole brings the 999 car across the line. The KEK Sim Racing car sets a benchmark at 2 minute 16.590. And now we've got the funny Formula Wombats car, the number 56, now out on the circuit. And that will be, I think, that is Alexei Meyer behind the wheel. So another Aston Martin, 1 of 7 in this qualifying session. So expect the expected here, but can maybe an Audi or a Ferrari take away pole position for Split 2 here for the Thrustmasters 24-hour of Spa-Francorchamps qualifying? Well, we're going to find out, but it's going to take a little bit of a while to get there, Andy.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet against it though, because we did have a Ferrari second fastest, didn't we, in the original session, that 521 car, which I noticed they put a different driver in now. It's Bonsignore who's in, I think, for this Superpole session. But on board again, up through Radion, nicely done over the curbs. They head down the Kemmel Straight. You mentioned that track temperature. You're right, it is a bit lower now than it was earlier on. That will hurt them even more in getting the tyres up to the temperature they need to be. I did see someone in the chat earlier on commenting that 10 or 11 degrees was totally unrealistic for Spa, to which my response is, have you been to Spa in May? I've been to Spa in July and it's been 10 degrees, so I think that's actually fairly accurate. I wouldn't even bet against a bit of rain once we get into the race over the course of the weekend. I don't know about you, Alex, this looks pretty tidy to me, this lap so far then.
Yeah, Alexei Mayer's had an opportunity to study Jan Kaminski's lap, so whether the number 56 is going to do something about it as it now comes through into Pouon. Nicely coaxes the car through the first half of it, but you don't want to be too aggressive and let the car launch out a little bit wide to the right going through into the next part of Pouon. And after this we'll have the number 27 THR Esports Audi, the sole representative for Ingolstadt. So 3 out of the 11 manufacturers here on the SimGrid VCO World Cup being represented. Alexei Meyer nearly loses the back and ever so slightly, a little bit of snap oversteer to the left-hand side rear of that Aston Martin, but he keeps it nice and tidy, accelerating through into Blanchimont. How daring is he on the loud pedal? 258 kilometers an hour just clocked on the speedometer, going through the apex of Blanchimont. Again, back down the gearbox, so the benchmark at 2 minutes 16.590. Alexei Meyer comes out of the bus stop chicane. Will the 56 improve and goes quicker by well over 5.5 tenths? So Alexei Meyer's got the new benchmark at 2 minutes 16.0. Now, considering the fact we were in the high 2 minute 15s in the first part of qualifying, Andy.
Yes, but he's done a better job of matching his pace between the sessions, because he also did a 2:16.0 in the qualifying session earlier on, at 16:0.98, so he'd actually gone fractionally quicker, whereas Kaminski was 4 tenths off his best, and that, I think, is as much about the warm-up lap as it is the flying lap. If you can get those tyres warmer quicker, that will serve you well in the session. Right, from 2 Aston Martins to the Audi now. Daniel Nyman in the number 27 Team Highlands Racing Audi makes its way now up the Kemmel Straight and toward this difficult braking zone at Stavelot. Can he brake a bit later maybe than the Aston Martins? Yeah, I think he did there. Carried a bit more speed into the corner. That is one of the benefits of the mid-engine cars, is that they brake a bit later and they change direction a little bit better. And so the Audi through this middle sector now really needs to try and make hay, see if it can trouble the top times. His lap time in the earlier session was also a 2:16.0. He was about 400ths quicker than Meyer went in the 56 Aston Martin, and of course that 56 car is the benchmark car at the moment, so this could, if he delivers on his pace from earlier on at least, could be pretty close to the top time.
And what's more, out of the 10 in this Super Pole session, it is the only naturally aspirated engine, 5.2 litre V10, and it produces 552 brake horsepower, 550 newton meters of torque. A very successful car in customer racing GTs in real life, but Daniel Nyman representing the Stars and Stripes, making his way through, and you can now see just how quickly the speed ramps up. Now Daniel Nyman making his way through in towards Blanchimont, and that was pretty neat and tidy from the number 27 Audi. So Alexei Meyer's time is the one to beat, 2 minutes 16.035. Daniel Nyman now powers out of the bus stop chicane. Let's see if he gets anywhere close to it or even improves. Gets to within 1.5 tenths. That's a good effort in the Audi.
Yeah, but not as quick as Meyer, and he was faster than him earlier on. So again, goes to show that your one-lap pace is more important here, isn't it, in this one-lap Super Pole format, of course. Back to Aston Martin now. Hannes Nordmann in the number 76 Aston Martin now makes his way through. This is the Sim RC Endurance team. He one of 4 drivers, of course, who will be pedalling this car. Although I noticed there are a handful, maybe half a dozen or so teams that are going with 3 driver entries this weekend rather than 4. So sharing the driving time between one fewer driver means longer stints, but perhaps a slightly more consistent pace over the race. You have to remind yourself sometimes, don't you, that this is qualifying for a 24-hour race, so race strategy and race pace ultimately is what will decide this, but this is all about the bragging rights and getting yourself that nice clean air at the start. The further towards the front of the grid you start, the less chance there is of your race going completely wrong right from the word go. There is always first lap contact of some description here at the Spa 24 Hours, be it the virtual or real world event, and the further towards the front of the grid you are, the less chance there is you'll be involved in that.
Yeah, very much the case. Found out an interesting statistic. I had to refer to Michael Hamlet, the SimGrid oracle, about this, that only one of the cars in both Split 1 and Split 2 have actually qualified for Super Pole in both events, and that is actually the number 91 GTWR R8G Academy. Number 91 with Michele Nurburgring took the top time in the previous session, but now with Hannes Nordmann in the number 76, looking to try and get on pace with Alexi Meyer, who by just under a tenth and a half is on provisional pole for Split 2 for the Thrustmaster 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps. And the top 10, well, it was actually VitoSimRacing.de that took pole, and they took it by not much, and I would expect very much the same here, as Hannes Nordmann now flings the car through Blanchimont, heading down in towards the bus stop chicane. Very clean once again, and we'll just see whether Nordmann has a response, because we have an Aston Martin at the top of the tree. Nordmann goes quicker by 3.5 tenths, now into the 2 minutes 16.8, and that was quicker than the top time in Split 2 initial qualifying.
Yeah, 15.6, isn't it? That's an astonishing time from Nordmann. So 2:15.6 is, well, that lap time would have actually put him second in the earlier session. So that is a serious improvement in lap time. I guess they can run a bit less fuel, of course, in this Super Bowl, because they know they're only doing one lap, whereas some of them did the majority of the session earlier on, so they'll have had to have carried maybe 7 or 8 laps of fuel. Cars lighter, finding maybe a couple of tenths that way, but either way, that is very, very impressive indeed. Right, 94, Andres Messer now in the Virtual Life Experience Aston Martin. This is the car that was 6th fastest in the qualifying session earlier on. He did a lap time of a 2 minutes 16.0. He's going to have to go about 4 tenths quicker than that to go fastest in this Super Bowl session so far. He wrestles the car through the right, left, right, up at the top of the hill, and heads downhill into the very, very difficult middle sector. You plunge down into the middle of the valley now, just controlling the understeer. Had to back off a bit through the middle of the corner maybe to keep the front end in check, and again tempting to use all of that curb. He didn't use any of the curb on the inside. Runs very wide actually. That was dangerously close to exceeding track limits. I think he got away with it, but only just. You couldn't go much wider than that, I don't think, without getting your lap time disallowed. Uses quite a bit of the curb there through the middle of Pouhon, so he's certainly pushing the envelope here, isn't he, Alex?
He is indeed. Andreas Messer in the number 94 Aston Martin. Looks like the livery's got the thumbs up by some of them in the chat, as Messer making his way down into Stavelot. 2 wheels on the white line going into the first of 2 right-handers. Again, looking very close towards the ragged edge of track limits, as Andres Messer looking to better the time of the 76 Sim RC Endurance Team Aston Martin of Nordmann, as Andres Messer now makes his way through into Blanchimont. And again, these Aston Martins topping out at about a couple of kilometres an hour shy of 260 on the speedo, as now Andres Messer makes his way. Oh, and he's absolutely lost the back end there. He went full on sideways. That is probably going to be, at the very worst, it's going to put him 1.5 seconds off. Andres Messer at 2:17.2. That is the woulda, coulda, shoulda lap time right there from Andres Messer. Just literally, you said about this earlier, Andy. You light up the rear tyres early, you can have such a moment, and at such a crucial moment as the bus stop chicane, that really caught Andres Messer by surprise.
Yeah, I think that was going wrong from the moment he caught sight of the bus stop, really. He outbraked himself, he went into the right-hander too deep, and from then he was scrabbling to try and get back online. He clobbered the curb, then he got that wheel spin you talked about. Yeah, messy end to the lap, and so frustrating. You know, you get more than 2 minutes into the lap, and then you mess it all up at the last corner. That is really, really frustrating. Right then, Tutsi is on the track now. He was 5th quickest earlier on. and this is the first of the cars that got into the 2-minute 15 bracket in our 20-minute qualifying session. He did a 15.879 did Tutsi, and the 144 Ferrari. This could be the time that goes to the top. He's gone strong in the first sector, up through Eau Rouge and Radion, and now he plunges into the middle sector, and this really is the part of the circuit where the Ferrari should excel. Let's see if we can see the differences here, riding on board with this Ferrari, dropping downhill. See if we can spot where it's gaining its time. Is it able to hold a tighter line through the corners? Is it braking later, carrying more speed? Certainly seems nicely settled through. Pujon only uses a small amount of the curve in between the two corners, right up to the edge of the yellow and red painted curves on the exit of the corners, and now into the part of the circuit where he should be strong, but he's made a mistake. He's outbraked himself a bit there into the right-hander, and that will definitely have compromised his speed through that whole section, Alex. That could prove costly.
Yeah, you've got to have that gentle touch with the Ferrari, because the minute you put a foot wrong, it can actually bite your head off a little bit, so to speak. But Tulsi now has to make up some time. Let's see if this Ferrari is even more planted than the Aston Martin going through Blanchimont, because Angelo Tuzzi is winding up that Ferrari well and truly, nice and neat. Takes a great exit out of that corner, and that could possibly make a little bit of a difference. But the 144 GTWR R8G Academy car comes out of the bus stop chicane, and all the horsepower in that 3.9 litre twin turbo V8 crosses the line. P2. God, it's that little bit earlier in the lap. That 1/10 of a second has just cost Angelo Tuzzi all that time, and that means that GTWR R8G Academy are not going to beat Hannes Nordmann.
That's so frustrating. Tutsi was about 2.5 tenths quicker than Nordmann in the first sector, and he was about 0.5 tenth quicker in the last sector, but he lost 4 tenths in the middle sector, and we saw where he did it. It was that tiny mistake. I mean, he was, what, a foot wide of the apex maybe going through the right-hander, and it cost him so much time, because one corner here leads directly into another, and if you mess up one, it can really hurt your speed through the next 2 or 3 sometimes. Well, we're seeing mistakes creep in now, and it's actually the teams that were at the top of the tree in qualifying that are making the mistakes, isn't it? Because they are the ones who are feeling the most pressure here. They went quickly earlier on. They're the teams that everyone's gunning for, and so possibly that's leading to a few of them overstepping the mark. That was an interesting line, wasn't it, there from Hugo Merles, who is the next car out on track. Really hooked the curve through the left-hand part of the Les Combes, and then kept a very tight line on the exit of it. Looks a bit wide of the apex there as well. This has been an interesting approach to the lap here, Alex. Melhes dropping down the hill now, went 4th quickest earlier on with a 15.846. Needs to find about 1/10.5 more than that if he's to go to provisional pole.
Yeah, the pressure cooker situation is in full effect here at Spa-Francorchamps, as after this we'll have 3 more cars to go. But Hugo Merhes nearly had that Aston Martin sideways. Very much earlier on, a bit like Andres Messer going through the bus stop chicane, but Melhes looking a bit more composed. Now he goes through into Stavlaw, nice and tight on the apex. You don't want to run the car too wide, going between both right-handers. Neat and tidy, a little bit of a good exit coming out of Stavlaw, not taking too much curb on the left-hand side of the exit of Stavlaw, but now winds up the car once again. And this is going through into Blanchimont once more. And that looks to be the quickest apex speed I've seen going through Blanchimont. 1 kilometre shy of 260 kph through Blanchimont. If anything, these drivers have got severe, well, they've got a proper intestinal fortitude, in other words, guts. And Hugo Merhes goes P3, but I think that hooking of the curb earlier on cost the 737 from Osmium by TX3 all that time.
Yeah, well, actually, with the middle sector, yeah, so that would have just been in the middle sector, wouldn't it? Yeah, where he lost a little bit of time. He was about 4 tenths down in the middle sector, but his first and third sectors were pretty competitive. Again, though, we're seeing, aren't we, that the Aston Martins are good in sectors 1 and 3, but the mid-engine cars maybe have that slight advantage through the middle part of the lap, and that is where he dropped a little bit of time. Close though, and he's still up there in 3rd position, so I don't think he'll be too disappointed with that. But with 3 more teams to run, we now start moving into the really quick ones, the ones that were right at the pointy end after qualifying earlier on. And next up, here we're on board with him now, Jakob Boehm. the Austrian driver at the wheel of the number 71 car then, and turns his way through the right, through the left. Now that's the curb that Melhes hit too much before, and Jakob is much neater through there. This the 6th of the 7 Aston Martins to run in this session. Now Jakob did a 2:15.759 earlier on, so we know that he can run the pace, but it does look as though one or two of them here, Alex, are struggling to find the pace they had before, Nordman being the obvious exception to that, but most of the others are going a little bit slower now than they did in qualifying.
Yeah, and after this we've got the 521 Wheelspin Esport Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo. That's got Amos Lorito behind the wheel, and then Blackhawk Racing's Chris Severe in the 81 Aston Martin. It's coming to crunch time here for Split 2, qualifying here for the 24 hours, the Thrustmaster 24 hours of Spa-Francorchamps. Jakob Boehm going through into the first part of Stavlo. Neat, nice bit of apex taken there by the 71 Aston Martin. Uses the runoff on the left hand side to get a good run coming through the exit of Stavlo, and now winds up the car, foot to the floor. Now shifts up into 6th gear, and again will try and hustle his way through into Blanchimont. 2:58 was the highest recorded speed coming through Blanchimont. Now down into the bus stop chicane, and he's done the same as Mesa. He's done exactly the same as Andres Mesa, and it was the tank slapper effect right there. Jakob Boehm just absolutely nailed the brakes, turned the car in, lit up the rear tyres, and the car was not having any of it.
Oh, that's so easy to do, isn't it? We saw a minor version of that earlier on, didn't we, for Mesa? But that was a big lose there for Boehm. And it was looking decent until that point, actually. He was the 3rd fastest car so far in the first sector. His second sector was bang on the money as well. So that lap was probably going to be good enough for at least 2nd so far. Could have even beat Nortman to the fastest time. So Boehm will be absolutely furious with that, because that is the difference between starting maybe front row and starting almost certainly now down on the 5th row. The best he will be is 8th, but we have 2 more cars still to go, and these are the 2 cars that were fastest earlier on. We've got now Lorito out on the track. Amos Lorito, who was 2nd fastest in qualifying earlier on with a 2:15.699, so he pretty much set a lap time that matches that of Hannes Nordman in this session. And look at him, he's wringing that Ferrari's neck as he goes through Stavlo, 4-wheel drift through the middle part of the chicane, runs right out over the curb on the exit, spots his braking point, turns in early, he's too late on the brakes, he turned in too early, he carried too much speed in. You can get away with it through there though by taking the late apex. He sort of diamond the corner off. You take an early apex, run out wide, and then cut back to the 2nd apex. How much time did it cost him there? We'll have to wait and see, but that is a sign of how hard he is pushing.
Yeah, after Jakob Boehm's well, there were plenty of Fs in the chat after Jakob Boehm spooled up the rear tyres going through the bus stop chicane. So the biggest mistake we've seen. We've still got split 1 to come, but hang on to your hats with Amos Lorito from Wheelspin Esport in the 521. Can this team get ahead of Nordman in the 76 Aston Martin? Well, if Lorito can pull a little bit more time out of the bag in the Ferrari, because Chris Severe's up next, and he was an absolute whirling dervish in the first session, a 2:15.3 from the 81 Aston. But Lorito now fires it through Blanchimont, down towards the bus stop chicane. It's about being like you're treading on eggshells coming through here. Lorito does it nice and tidy. Through the right and then through the left. Out of the final corner comes Amos Lorito. Is it going to be enough? The Ferrari goes P3, 21 thousandths behind Tursi in the 144. But now we wait for the big bad wolf to come out and play. That is Chris Severe in the 81 Blackhawk Racing. And it's 2 drivers representing the stars and stripes that have gotten into the top 10. The other one being Daniel Nyman in the number 27 Audi. But this could be a pretty defining lap for Blackhawk Racing, and Chris Severe very much at high speed and well and truly fired up as he goes through Eau Rouge, now through Radion, and that car was bouncing left to right there as he made his way onto the Kemmel Straight, but what's even more impressive, Andy, Chris Sever kept it together.
Yeah, and critically kept it within track limits as well, so the time still stands at the moment into the chicane. Now, Sever, remember, had nearly 3.5 tenths in hand over anybody else in qualifying earlier on, so in theory, this is a done deal. He just needs to make sure he doesn't make a mistake. We know he's got the natural pace to go quicker than Nordman has gone in this session, but it's so easy to say that and so difficult to do it, because when the pressure is on, the tiniest of mistakes can easily occur, and he's wide of the apex there through turn 9. That will certainly have cost him time. Keeps it again within track limits, but this has been a scrappy lap. 1 or 2 mistakes already in the first half of the lap, and now he plunges down through Pouhon and makes his way around the middle sector and makes his way towards the right-left once again. This is where we've seen a couple of mistakes. A few people going a bit too quick into the right. That was inch perfect though there, wasn't it, for Sever? And that means he's on the right line for the left-hander. Uses a lot of the curb and the AstroTurf on the exit. Spot your braking point. Get on the power at the right moment. Spot on over the exit. Through the next right-hander. Don't understeer out too wide. That looked good as well. I'm not sure. I'm not confident enough to predict this, Alex. It could go fastest, but those couple of little mistakes in the first half of the lap, is he going to live to regret them?
Well, the pressure's well and truly on Black Hawk Racing's Chris Sever. Fires it through Blanchimont. It's the 10th and final entry in the Super Pole for Split 2 as sparks fly from the rear diffuser. Chris Sever's just got to nail this one perfectly. Out of the bus stop comes the 81 Aston Martin. Will it beat a 2 minutes 15.684? We're about to find out. No, by 3/100ths of a second. Chris Sever has missed out on pole for the Thrustmaster 24 hours of Spa-Francorchamps. And what's more, it's in Split 2.
Wow, and so the car that was only 7th in qualifying and nearly 7 tenths off the fastest time is going to line up on pole position. That goes to show, doesn't it, that what happens in the 20-minute qualifying session does not dictate what the final order will be after Super Pole. That was a brilliant effort, that, from Sever, just not quite enough, and it's Nordman that gets it. In the first sector, Sever was fractionally quicker. He was just over a tenth slower in the middle sector and got almost all of it back in the final sector, but it was Nordman's middle sector there that got him the pole position.
And what's more, it netted the team $25 for securing pole position, I believe, if memory serves me correctly. But yeah, still, that was one hell of a lap from Hannes Nordman from Sim RC Endurance Team. They will be on pole position for Split 2. If ever that was a time to deliver, Sim RC Endurance Team actually did that at the right point, and they weren't sort of like either at the first part of it or at the end part of qualifying. They were nearly slapdash right in the middle, and that is probably where you see the best lap times come in these Super Pole side of things. But it looks like I'll hand over to you, Andy, because it looks like we've got a team representative from Sim RC Endurance Team, and it looks to be Michael Mund is going to come in for an interview.
Yeah, Michael joins us now, and I'd imagine it's quite a happy Michael Mund who joins us now. Michael, huge congratulations, pole position in Split 2. How are you feeling?
Yeah, really great. We never thought of that. Hannes put a really good lap together. It is his personal best lap, and we hope for P10 maybe. Now it's pole position. It's can't describe the feeling at the moment.
What feedback has Hannes given you after that Super Pole session? Because he found 4 tenths of a second from somewhere. Now, I know the car might be a bit lighter on fuel, maybe slightly higher tyre pressures, but I think Hannes had an awful lot to do with that improvement in time, didn't he?
Yeah, it is unbelievable. His personal best before the qualifying was 15.8, I believe. And so 16.0 in the qualifying was a good lap. We were proud of him, and the lap he put together in the Super Pole, his personal best, this is the best moment that he where he can put it together like that. I was super proud of him.
And rightly so. That's an incredible lap time, and it puts you on the pole position then for the 24 hours. You can enjoy this for a couple of days, but it doesn't really mean a huge amount when you get into the race, does it? How confident are you that you can stay at the front over the course of 24 hours of racing?
So I'm the starting driver, so it will be. I will be a little bit nervous on the Saturday. Realistic, I think. If we can finish the race in the top 5, it would be a great result for our team. It was a little bit disappointing in Bathurst in round 1. After a crash in the first laps, we just finished P16 in the end. So our target for tomorrow, for Saturday, is to get some good points for the championship. Come a bit closer to the top 5 in the championship, and so everything in the top 5, top 10 would be a good result for our team.
You make a good point there as well, that you finished 16th at the Bathurst 12 hours. That means that you don't carry any success ballast here at Spa. How much do you think that's affecting some of the top teams here this week?
Yeah, of course. I believe in Split 1, the winning car from Bathurst is just P45 or something like that. So we see that the ballast system for us it works quite well in this race, but I think in Donington in round 3 maybe we will be the team with the ballast on the car. So there were a lot of teams with ballast which finished the qualifying way below than in Bathurst. So I don't know, in one lap it could be a big difference, but on 24 hours I think we will see a lot of position change in the races.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic pair of races. Split 2 is set to be just as exciting as Split 1. Michael, thank you for joining us. Well done, and good luck for that first stint on Saturday.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Michael Munn then very, very happy after his co-driver sets the fastest time. A brilliant effort there for Hannes Nordmann, Alex, to take the Split 2 pole position here at the Spa 24 Hours.
Yeah, it's there's some interesting prizes I've just seen, actually, courtesy of our good friends at AK Informatica. That apparently that the AK Informatica Fastest Lap Award is open to all drivers in Split 2. So the driver who posts the pole position time of each round, this is obviously following the completion of each race, the stewards shall review the fastest laps and determine the validity. So that means that there'll be a £50 AK Informatica voucher heading its way to those drivers. But also there's another bit of a carrot to be dangled in front of them. And this is open to all drivers in Split 2, that the team who gains the most positions at the Thrustmaster 24 Hours of Spa will receive a brand new set of DDR4 16GB of RAM, each for their PCs. So that's going to be another sort of carrot to dangle in front of them. But we have to hold our horses on talking about prizes and affiliate links and everything like that, because very shortly Split 1 Super Pole is about to get underway. So the good thing is, obviously, you spoke to Igor Ogorodnikov from Lada Sport Rosneft. So the 41 Aston Martin will be out. Now, out of these drivers, Michele Nurburgring, well, out of these cars, the 91 Ferrari that went top of the timesheets in from qualifying going into the Super Pole is the only car to successfully get into the Super Pole twice in a row. They were P8 last time out at the opening round at the 12 Hours of Mount Panorama. But that Ferrari's looked very, very quick all the way through this session. But I think that they look to be the team to beat tonight for pole in Split 1. And that then gives the team $25 US courtesy of VCO.
Yes, and gives them good track position for the start of the 24 hours on Saturday, doesn't it? So, but you know, we've just seen that just because you were quick in the 20-minute session earlier on doesn't mean that you're going to have it all your own way in this Super Bowl session, because there is just so much pressure on the drivers that are taking to the track in this session. You only have to make a minor mistake, and we're talking, you know, missing your braking point by 5 meters or missing the apex by half a foot, and that can be the difference in Split 1. Certainly that can be the difference between starting on pole and starting maybe outside of the top 5. And it's a long lap, you know, there are lots of corners to get right, lots of braking points to get right, you've got to be careful controlling the wheel spin coming out of the corners. So easy to make a mistake, but that's why these are some of the best drivers in the business. They don't make that many mistakes. When they do, it makes it very exciting for us, and I'm sure we will see a couple slip up here over the course of the next sort of 20 minutes or so, but I expect a close session. I expect a session that's going to keep us guessing right till the end. But as for who's going to be on pole position, quite frankly, I have no idea, and that's just the way I like it, Alex.
Well, the first driver out is none other than the man, the myth, the legend, that is Igor Ogorodnikov, originally a nemesis when it came to his surname, with yours truly when I first started here on the SimGrid. But the Lada Sport Rosneft Aston Martin has 10 kilos of ballast, so that may not hinder the Aston Martin so much, but it has 535 brake horsepower, 700 newton meters of torque. Red lines at just over 7,400 RPM as Ogorodnikov makes his way through Les Combes, and will drop down the hill before the right-hand hairpin here at Malmedy. And again, the Aston Martins, there's 80% of this top 10 are Aston Martins. We have Niles Noyox, who will go out 6th in this, the number 62 BMW Team G2 Esports, of course, in the M6 GT3. But then you've got the number 91 GTWR R8G Academy Ferrari, which will be the last car to go out of the 20 that have qualified for Superpole in both Split 1 and Split 2 in totality here. But you know, the thing is, GTWR, they are the ones that have got the target on their back, and you know, you're going to probably see the likes of, maybe if they put the likes of Bastian Richter or Yura Petrichenko, don't count out Unicorns of Love for maybe a surprise pole position here in Split 1.
Yeah, absolutely. These sessions have already proven to be fairly unpredictable, haven't they? So you wouldn't ever bet against them being somewhere near the front. But Ogorodnikov here then weaving around, trying to get some heat into the tyres. Barely scraped in, didn't he, into this top 10. And wouldn't it be amazing if he could go and put the car somewhere inside the top, you know, I don't know, 3 rows of the grid? Anything is an improvement for them, really. They can't fall any further down the grid than they already were. They're guaranteed to be in the top 10. But Ogorodnikov now has 1 lap to try and get it right. Then let's ride on board with him on the roof of the beautiful Aston Martin as it works its way down into La Source. You can make a mistake there quite easy by missing your braking point. You want to really carry the speed in because there's quite a bit of camber on the road there at the apex, and that means that you can roll through the centre quite quickly. And now you take a deep breath, you pick your turning point, and you try and keep it flat to the floor through Eau Rouge. Don't run too wide. Hops over the curb. Decent effort that for Ogorodnikov. And he heads up the Kemmel Straight now towards Stavelot with a solid starting point to the lap. Now, where does he brake? It's just toward the start of this curb on the left where you want to hit the brakes. There it is, right on cue. Turns in, hits the first curb. How much of the second curb does he take? Takes quite a lot, but the front engine cars like the Aston Martin, they can ride the curbs more than the Ferraris, Audis and Lamborghinis, for example, who are mid-engine. Those cars are a bit more susceptible to bumps. You want to stay off the curbs in those cars. You can be a lot more aggressive in the Aston Martin. Doesn't exactly make friends with the apex there through Rivage, but didn't lose too much time from it. Good start to the lap this, I think, here. Alex Ogorodnikov is on a mission here to try and improve on 10th place.
Yeah, he's making his way now down into Pouhon. Nearly gets a bit of snap-on oversteer towards the right rear of that Aston Martin, but keeps it nice and neatly planted. Exits Pouhon rather neatly there. Going through into the next complex here at Les Fagnes. Turns and rotates the car in. Nice and neatly done from Ogorodnikov. Comes out of Les Fagnes. Now is the real point of the circuit where you need to get things right. Here through Stavelot. Allow the car to drift a little bit wide towards the left. Going through into the second right-hand apex. Neatly done by Igor there as he makes his way through towards Blanchimont. And through goes the number 41 Lada Sport Rosneft car. And that is very neatly done by Ogorodnikov. He's going to be the one that sets the initial benchmark here for Split 1 Superpole. Through into the bus stop chicane. Doesn't take too much doesn't take any curve on the apex. Out of the final corner he comes. And across the line, Ogorodnikov 2 minute 15.936 from the number 41 that is the initial benchmark to beat. Now, we saw that is about 7/10 quicker than what we saw initially in terms of split 2, and now it is the 164 GTWR R8G Academy car that has got Andrea Miato behind the wheel. So a good benchmark there by Ogorodnikov. It's going to get probably the very best out of everybody in this top 10. But as we saw with the likes of Bohem and Mesa having absolute howlers going through the bus stop chicane, you cannot leave anything to chance, especially in split 1.
No, absolutely, and this 164 team really trying to bounce back, aren't they, from a fairly disastrous Bathurst 12 hours where they were 44th place at the end of the race. They had some issues along the way, of course, but they're showing here that they do have the pace to challenge for potentially a race win. Ninth fastest in qualifying earlier on then, and Miato heads through Blanchimont, up through Eau Rouge, takes a bit more curve maybe there than Ogorodnikov did, but maybe just scrubbed a bit of speed off there as you bounce over the curb and maybe unsettle the car on the run down into Les Combes. Long straight, brakes at pretty much the same point as Ogorodnikov. Takes a bit more curb though, doesn't he, just through that right, but then interestingly a bit less through the left. So it fascinates me to watch the minute details of what make the difference, and you can really see when you stop and analyse each driver where they're gaining and where they're losing the time. And Miato perhaps a little bit neater through there, but will it ultimately prove to be quick enough for the GTWR number 164 Aston Martin? Drops down the hill then towards Pouhon. Full commitment required through here. Down into it through the left. One gear down from 5th to 4th. And that was pretty conservative, actually. Didn't use too much of the curb, did he? Through the middle part of the corner. Back up the gears again. Down here into probably 3rd. No, even using 2nd, actually. Oh, well, he went down to 2nd and then changed his mind, didn't he? Went up into 3rd for the right-hander. That might have just cost him a bit of time.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when you're short shifting through corners, you're actually trying to build a little bit of momentum and also traction. We've been using the word momentum, but also with this circuit, you also need a little bit of patience with how you exit the corner and apply the throttle. As Andrea Miato now fires his way through into Blanchimont, and 2:59 on the speedo. And the good thing is, whether this is going to be better than Igor Ogorodnikov's lap time, we are about to find out. It was a 2-minute 15.936 from the 41. The 164 crosses the line and goes quicker by nearly 4/10. A 2-minute 15.549 for Andrea Miato. And now it is AAA Esports Arnaud Lacombe in the 92. So in rapid succession, 3 Aston Martins, and then we're going to have a 4th, because I see a lot of Bacon chatter in the YouTube chat at the moment. Plenty of streaky messages going out on there, because James Bacon will be up next in the 125 Ubik Events Racing Aston Martin, and then it's only when we get to Niles Noyox, and then also to I think it was just trying to remember who it was in the 91. It was Michele Nurbi that put in the best lap time, as Les Combes has sparks flying from the rear diffuser, going through into Eau Rouge and then through into Radiant, down the Kemmel Straight, and looking to stretch the legs on that Aston Martin there, Andy, isn't he?
Yes, he is, and looking to try and beat what is a phenomenal time there by Miato. It just looked neat and tidy, didn't it? It wasn't quite as on the edge as Ogorodnikov, and that showed in the split times in the end, where he was just consistently quicker than the first of the cars out on track. But what can Lacombe do? He's just been through Les Combes at the top of the circuit, and heads now back down into that middle sector. And this looks very unremarkable as well, and I'm quickly learning that is a good sign, because as spectacular as it looks to see a driver bouncing off the curbs and fighting with opposite lot coming off the corners, a nice, smooth, sensible, safe drive is possibly the quickest way around this circuit, which again is different, isn't it, really, to Bathurst last time, where you really have to grab the car by the scruff of the neck and fight it around the lap. Here at Spa, it's all about smooth driving input, smooth steering, smooth on the accelerator coming out of the corners, and Lacombe seems to be doing that pretty nicely now. Heads down into Stavelot, gets the curb, drifts a little bit wider maybe than some of the others, but that's perfectly legal as long as you're not all four wheels over the curb through either the first or second part of Stavelot. Then you're within track limits, you're on a legal lap time, and he appears then to be on for a decent lap here, heads up towards Blanchimont then on his one and only attempt here in Super Bowl, the top 10 shootout for the Spa 24 hours. One more braking point to get right, and this is the one that's caught a few people out already tonight. Does he get that first apex? Absolutely nails it, and that puts him on the right line for the left. Doesn't get too sideways on the exit, he heads to the line, and Lacombe is going to set a lap time good enough for second. He's just under 3/10 slower than Miato, jumps onto, provisionally at least, the front row.
Well, it looks like things are getting rather heated because there has been a bit of a bacon escalation, as Jonas van der Uyten puts in the chat, because now Great Britain's James Bacon out on the circuit and has started his hot lap, the fourth successive Aston Martin. Then we got Kevin Ciclari in the 191 Racing Line Motorsport. You know what's really, really funny though, because from 10th to 5th we're all Aston Martins. Then we'll have the BMW of Niles Noyox. Then we'll have Cymax Motorworks and Ambassadors for Melton, both in Aston Martins, and then the Ferrari of GTWR. So we'll see what happens, because the bacon intensity in the YouTube chat has gone to quite literally another level, because they've been waiting for this driver to come out onto the circuit. Bacon makes his way through into Les Combes, and then we'll head down the hill through the right-hander here at Malmedy before the next right-hander here at Rivage. And interestingly, I saw in the chat a little bit earlier on, can't remember the name of the individual, but thank you for this welcome bit of information. This corner here, known as No Name in general, is actually known in Belgium as Speaker's Corner, because you can actually hear the commentator from that locality on the circuit. Now James Bacon makes his way through into the double left here at Pouhon. Makes that nice and tidy going through there. But then it's the real run down the hill, the momentum carry here, Andy, through in towards Lifagne and into Stavelot.
Yeah, and this is where it starts getting really tricky. Quite a lot of corners coming at you thick and fast here through the second part of this middle sector, but James Bacon looks neat and tidy through them, doesn't he? I knew it was a mistake to look at the chat. I'm very hungry now after seeing all of the bacon emojis, which I didn't even know was a thing, so that's something new that I've learned tonight. James Bacon, though, I've not had any reason to use it before, but I'm going to try and find a reason now to slip it into every conversation I have. Anyway, James Bacon, more importantly, looked as though he ran too wide there, did he? And is that an invalidated lap? It is. So James Bacon, I'm afraid, all of the bacon emojis in the world aren't going to save him. His lap time is invalidated. And that is a costly mistake, isn't it, Alex? Because that means that he's going to start down at the back of the grid.
Well, he definitely hasn't brought the bacon home for pole position tonight. I can tell you that now. But that means, yeah. Well, the thing is, I just had both our broadcast director. At least he starts 10th, so he hasn't, he hasn't come a cropper completely. But at least to get into this, he's done a very good job. Kevin Ciclari now out on track. So now we refocus, reassert ourselves as now another Aston Martin, the 5th in a row, goes out onto the track, and Kevin Ciclari, not exactly a slouch by any means, as the Racing Line Motorsport 191 Aston Martin heads its way down through the dip, through Eau Rouge, now over to the crest of the hill through Hadillon. Very, very close. You can see how hard these drivers are pushing the limits when it comes to track limits going through Hadillon, but if you can nail it right, you could really get a good run going onto the Kemmel Straight.
Yes, you could. So Ciclari then heads into Les Combes and rides those curbs quite nicely once again. Ciclari then, who was, where was he? He was 6th, wasn't he, in the qualifying session earlier on, as we build towards some of our quicker drivers still to come later on. Getting very familiar with what this Aston Martin looks like, aren't we? Lots of different liveries on the cars, but they're all handling very similarly, taking similar lines through the corners. No one really... We're not seeing as much variation in driving styles in this split, I'm noticing. In split 2, you could really see how different drivers were attacking the circuit differently, whereas in split 1, for the most part, these drivers, they've kind of found the perfect way of getting around the course, and they know then that that's the way they need to do it every time in order to set the fastest lap times. Ciclari turns in nice and early, maybe drifted a bit wide, but I think he got away with that. Heads through the left-hander, a few marbles building up there on the edge of the road. They won't want to be straying that wide. And now into the corner that James Bacon overcooked earlier on and ran too wide over the curbs. Thankfully, Siklari inch perfect through there, keeps within the white lines, and now heads towards the bus stop on his hot lap.
Yeah, so now Kevin Siklari just has one of the fastest corners, if not the fastest corner to negotiate. Through Blanchimont comes the 191, and best lap still from Miato in the 164. 2 minute 15.549. Siklari hard on the brakes, makes it nice and neat and tidy through the bus stop chicane. Out of the final corner, what's the lap time going to be? A 2 minute 15.843. So Siklari lost a little bit of time. So at the moment, Miato on provisional pole ahead of Lecombe, Siklari and Ogorodnikov, with Bacon having lucked out, unfortunately, with that invalidated lap time. But Yura Petrichenko now behind the wheel, and we saw that managed to get himself into the top 10. But Yura Petrichenko, well known, made his debut, if I remember correctly, at the Silverstone British Classics late last November, when I actually made my debut here on the Sim Grid. And as always, the Unicorns of Love bring some very, very good liveries, and this Aston Martin is no exception. But you can just see with the amount of buffeting on the front windscreen how left and right that windscreen wiper on that Aston's going at the moment as he heads through into Lecombe. And then it'll be the run through into the right-hander here at Malmedy. But already Petrichenko, Andy, looking rather neat and tidy.
Yeah, absolutely he is. To tell you what, a windscreen wiper is almost as essential a part of the car as the engine or the tyres when you go to Spa, isn't it? You never quite know what's round the corner weather-wise. It's overcast at the moment. Track and ambient temperature still hovering at 10 degrees, so no change there. Same conditions for everybody, and those low temperatures are good for fast lap times. I think that's definitely a part of why we are into the 2:15s with the lap times in this session. I mean, that is an absolutely awesome pace. I'm hearing, though, that there may be a chance of some rain. Rain is forecast for Saturday, apparently, but knowing Spa, it will come and go throughout the course of the race. The conditions are never really that consistent, are they? It's part of what makes it such a challenge for the teams and such a thrill for us watching at home. A good lap this, though, for Petrichenko. Nothing really to remark on, which is a good sign, I think, Alex. He's on a nice, clean lap.
Yeah, well, the microclimate, I mean, I've been to Belgium many times. I've been to Genk, I've been to Zolder, I've been to Spa once or twice. And as always, the Belgian microclimate likes to throw its 2 cents into the ring. We could see that over the Thrustmaster 24 hours starting on Saturday. But Yura Petrichenko from Unicorns of Love breaks for the final time here on his one and only hot lap attempt here at the circuit. Will it be an improvement? Will it go quicker than a 2 minute 15.5? Petrichenko by 45 thousandths misses out. But yeah, I mean, Petrichenko was and decides to throw a donut or two, but now here comes, I think, the real dark horse of the party. Keep your eyes on this one. Niels Noyox behind the wheel for BMW Team G2 Esports in the M6 GT3. Now, Noyox was within the top 6 that were covered by less than a tenth of a second at the end of initial qualifying, and now we go on board with one of Munich's finest in terms of the machinery that Niels Noyox is now piloting through Eau Rouge, up the incline here, through Hadillon, and that car was very close to track limits, but Niels Noyox keeps it planted straight and true down the Kemmel Straight, and he's using every single one of the 585 brake horsepower out of that 4.4 litre twin turbo M-Power V8 that is pretty much front mounted, even though it's more towards the cockpit on the car, and you can just see how hard Niels Noyox is pushing. He wants that pole position.
Yes, doesn't he just? I'll tell you what I've just noticed as well. The Sim RC Endurance team, who were 16th at Bathurst in Split 2, they set pole position, didn't they, for Split 2 a moment or two ago? Well, this is the car that finished 16th in Split 1 and could potentially be a threat for pole position here as well. That means they're the highest placed car not carrying any ballast, and that surely is going to help them. It certainly won't hurt them around here at Spa in qualifying. Is Nars Noyux going to be able to put it on the front row, maybe even at the very front of the grid? BMW not known for doing that well at sort of power-hungry circuits such as Spa, but through this middle sector, it looks to be fairly well planted, doesn't it? Runs a bit wide. Oh, was that too wide? He jinked to the right, didn't he? He tried to make absolutely sure that he didn't invalidate the lap. I'm not getting any notification that he did, though, so that was just about within the lines enough there for Noyux, who heads up the hill now towards Blanchimont. What is this lap going to do? Needs to keep it fully committed through the left-hander. Don't hit the curb on the inside. It's what Adam Ballon did in a British GT race there a couple of years ago and ended up crashing fairly heavily into the concrete wall on the left-hand side. Thankfully, Noyux avoids that fate. He gets into and out of the bus stop nicely. It's a 2:15.549 to beat for Miato. Is this enough for the BMW? No! Only third fastest at the moment, just over 2/10 off.
Right, 7 down, 3 more to go. Here's number 8, Michael Tauscher from Side Max Motorworks. So it'll be the likes of Tauscher, then it's Henrik Gambal running for the 995 car, the ambassadors for Renvelt, and Tauscher starts his hot lap. So at the meantime, we've got Miato in the 164 for GTWR Racing Team leading the way. And we're just going to see that coming through, Tauscher going through Eau Rouge, through into Radion, very close right there and then, but still keeps it. I've had no notification that that has exceeded any track limits, but it's very, very much to the millimetre. You have to get it right going through Radion, otherwise you could really throw your lap down the drain pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely, which is something that Nars Noyux did not do. He was awesome through that first sector, wasn't he? I'm just looking at the split times that have come in from him. He was about a 10th quicker than anyone else had gone through that first sector, which is basically La Source, Eau Rouge, Radion, and then up towards Les Combes. But look at the state of the car. That is not the state that he left it in when he finished his lap, and that's because on his in-lap, we believe, he had an off going through Radion and threw it into the tyre wall. So, I don't know whether maybe his concentration had dropped a little bit after completing the lap, but that is an error that he won't want to replicate in Saturday's race. But anyway, thankfully, the main concern really was that he might have lost enough time through that accident that he ends up getting in the way of the Aston Martin on our screen now. Michael Tauscher, who comes through the middle sector down into Stavelot corner. Looks like being a decent lap here for the number 2-on-1 car that was third fastest in qualifying earlier on. Can it get on? Oh, that was so close to exceeding track limits. That's about as wide as you can go coming out of Stavelot without getting into trouble. He was inch perfect there, Alex.
Yeah, very much the case. And the 211 finished 27th at Mount Panorama. Michael Tauscher now makes his way down the gearbox into the bus stop chicane. Nice and neatly done, rotates the car through the right and then through the left. So is this going to be a pretty good lap from Side Max Motorworks, Michael Tauscher? He goes provisional pole, 2:15.393, a 10.5 quicker than the 164. We're now going to see a replay. Now this is Noyux's off-track excursion going through Radion. That was definitely straight, well, trying to power out of the corner and go up the hill, and it just decided to just keep steering left. I'm not too sure whether that may have been a hardware issue, but yeah, Michael Tauscher now has to watch and wait as ambassadors for Renvelten's Henrik Gambal's Aston Martin comes across over Radion. So we'll see what this does. Good evening to Chaz Draycott in the chat as well, amongst other people. But Henrik Gambal looking to get into Les Combes. And then next up we have GTWR R8G Academy with the 91 Ferrari. That was Michele Bendi that managed to put it up at the top of the timesheets. But is it going to be a pole position for the prancing horse? Well, after Henrik Gambal, we will find out very soon, probably within the next few minutes or so. And Henrik Gambal definitely finding some good purchase and some good momentum carry now going through Pouhon in the 995. And as always, here's some great epic liveries that we have here. A cornucopia of colour here at the SimGrid VCO World Cup. And now through into the right-hander here at Les Fagnes. Henrik Gambel's keeping this really neat and tidy. I think, you know, when they say it looks slow, it is actually quite fast, Andy.
Yeah, that's absolutely what I've noticed in this session. It's the drivers that don't look particularly remarkable that are actually going the quickest, and Gambel just lingered on that curb a bit, didn't he? A bit longer for my liking through the middle part of Stavelot, but gets away with it. Just analysing the sector times, by the way, for Michael Tauschke, it was all in the middle sector that he gained his time. That is the longest sector on the lap, remember, 59 seconds for these split one drivers through the middle sector, as opposed to 40 in sector 1 and about 35 or 36 in the middle sector, the final sector, which is where we find Henrik Gambel now. Then second fastest earlier on. Can he go to the top? A 2:15.393 is the time to beat. He crosses the timing line and only goes fourth. So a little bit conservative maybe there for Gambel. His first sector was good. His second sector wasn't. He was about 3.5 tenths slower than Tauschke in the middle sector, and that is what did for him.
Well, interestingly enough, I've just heard that Sidemax Motorworks won the race face 24 hours of Kyalami last weekend from pole. Well, they're currently on pole, but Michele Nurburgring is the last driver out of 10 to get things going. So the GTWR R8G Academy car. Now, think of it this way. He was actually quickest in the free practice before Super Pole took place for Split 1. As now, the Ferrari makes its way through La Source. Michele Nurburgring turns it in, lets the car drift to the left-hand side on the run down towards Eau Rouge and Radillon, and literally as close to the pit wall as you dare, through the left, now up the hill, and pretty neat and tidy there. A little bit of bouncing from the suspension as he made his way through Radillon, down the Kemmel straightaway, and then through in towards the hefty braking zone, pushing over 265 kilometers an hour, down the gearbox into Les Combes. Nice bit of curb negotiation from Michele Nurburgring there. Through into the right-hander here at Malmedy, and then down the hill we go, through in towards Rivage. And this, Andy, we'll have to see what Michele Nurburgring brings to the party. Will Ferrari take pole position here on Belgian soil is the biggest question we need answered.
It would be quite something, wouldn't it, in a session dominated by Aston Martins, if we could get the prancing horse on pole position. It's one of only 2 non-Aston Martins in this Split 1 Super Bowl session, and it was the car that was leading the times after qualifying earlier on, so you wouldn't bet against it, would you? This is the part of the lap where the Ferrari should excel through this middle sector, the change of direction in particular through Les Fagnes and then down into Stavelot. But will it have the ponies, no pun intended, going up the hill towards Blanchimont at the end of the lap? The prancing horse adorning the front of this beautifully prepared Ferrari of Nurburgring heads out of Stavelot up the hill. And this is it then. It's all about traction and acceleration cleanly up through the gears from Michele Nurburgring towards Blanchimont. We ride on board with him then in the main picture. How committed is he through here? Uses all of that green runoff area on the entry. That is legal. Can't run too wide though out of the corner, not like they were in the real 24 hours of Spa towards the end of last year. Now through the final chicane, another chance maybe for the agile Ferrari to gain some time back. Is it going to be enough for pole position? It will take a Herculean effort to get the Ferrari onto pole. Has he done it? No, it's 4th quickest for Michele Nurburgring. So it is going to be the number 211 Aston Martin of Michael Tauschke that takes the pole position.
Well, Stone the Crows, that is absolutely brilliant to see. Well, effectively, we now have multiple different cars in the top 10. I think, if memory serves me correctly, let's just have a look back at what happened in the previous one. It is an Aston front row lockout in Split 2. It's an Aston top 3 in Split 1. So congratulations to our 2 relevant pole sitters. You know, Notman in the 76 doing a great job for Sim RC in Split 2, and then Michael Tauschke from Sidemax Motorworks in the 211. And what's more, the difference between pole position was just over 0.12 of a second. here tonight at Spa-Francorchamps. Really, it was so difficult to predict what was going to happen. And the qualifying sessions ahead of the Thrustmaster 24 Hours of Spa this weekend, Andy, we couldn't have predicted that at all, could we? We didn't see it coming.
No, certainly I'm taken aback by just how close it is. You know, we've got the 9 cars that set valid laps in that session all within half a second, and I think it will get closer in the race because we saw in the qualifying session earlier on when they have a few laps to get the tyres up to temperature, so they can go even quicker, and they all get closer and closer to each other, don't they? So I think we're in for an enthralling 24 hours of racing at a circuit that just has this habit, doesn't it, for producing all-time classics. And maybe with the threat of rain in the air as well, we were hearing, which is going to throw extra spice into the mix as if we needed it, and that could change everything, couldn't it? Certain cars are going to handle that wet weather potentially a little bit better than others.
Yeah, very true, but we will have to see what happens once around the clock as our stream here on the SimGrid for the Thrustmaster 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps will start at around 20 past 12 Central European Summertime this coming Saturday. That is the 15th of May. And once again, a big thank you to our partners and our backers for this. But it looks like we've got... well, we're waiting for some drivers to come in for interviews, and hopefully very soon we'll have a chat with them and see how they're feeling ahead of once around the clock here at Spa. But don't forget, you can get your 15% off your order with our friends over at Kyalami. So use the discount code World Cup 15 to get 15% off of your order. They are all vegan-based products. But it looks like we are going to go to an interview, so I'll hand over to you, Andy.
Yeah, thanks very much, Alex, because our pole sitter, the man of the moment, Michael Tauscher, is with us now. Michael, well done. Talk us through that lap. Did it go as well as it looked to? Because it looked pretty perfect from the outside.
Yeah, it was good until I think it was sector 2. I don't even remember what corner it was, but I lost like half a tenth there. But overall, it was a very clean lap, and yeah, it was maybe 1/10 in there. For Super Pole, I'm quite happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sign of, the pressure that you guys put yourselves under, that dropping 1/10 of a second is seen as a bit disappointing. I would be very, very happy with a low to mid 2-minute 15. The question now, though, Michael, is whether you can carry that over into the race, because one lap pace is great and it gives you the headlines going into the race, but you've got to be quick over 24 hours and you've got to stay out of trouble.
Yeah, I think we got quite good pace in the race. So yeah, Essen is quite safe to drive. Also, it's easy to go up on Rouge. It's good and wet, so I'm looking forward to it, and I think we can do something very good.
I was hearing earlier on, though, that there is apparently a little bit of rain forecast for the race. Does that excite you, or does that make you nervous?
Both. I have to say, I've never driven in the wet in the Essen, so yeah. Also, but I think it's great in the wet. So yeah, I think we got good pace and dries in the wet.
Well, good to hear that you're confident ahead of the race. Huge congratulations on coming out on top in what was a very competitive Super Bowl session. Enjoy it, and best of luck for the race.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Michael Tauscher then brings the Aston Martin on to pole position then, and for Sidemax Motorworks, that is the perfect end to what has been a pretty perfect qualifying session. My first taste of World Cup qualifying, and you know what? I quite enjoyed it.
The feeling's mutual, Andy. Feeling is mutual. Well, that really brings to a close the qualifying for round 2 of the SimGrid VCO World Cup here live on the SimGrid. This is the Thrustmaster 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps. Don't forget, you can get your free 3 months with ExpressVPN if you go to the link on your screens, expressvpn.com, the SimGrid, if you sign up for 12 months. And don't forget to get your 15% off your order with our good friends over at Kyalami, who have decided to come on board for this round. Of course, it is their home turf. You can join us well, you can actually join quite a few people very soon. Kicking off the stream 12 Central European Summertime this coming Saturday. Join Lewis McGlade and Angus Fender, who would kickstart the action for the first of several parts of the Thrustmaster 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps at 12 Central European Summertime. Once again, we can't thank our partners and our sponsors enough. Callow for jumping on board for this round. ExpressVPN with the affiliate links. Of course, VCO, a big thank you to them. AK Informatica. And as always, you've got Coach Dave Academy. You can get your track maps, your Assetto Corsa Competizione setups. You can also be taught by some of the best in the business. Dave Perel, Nick Foster and Jordan Pepper, amongst others, with receiving world-class coaching by professional racing drivers. And if you're a bit like David Christie, you want to bag yourself another T300 RS, head to Thrustmaster and why not see what they might have in store that might be right up your street. Don't forget to follow us on all the relevant social medias. And that is it from us here until just after 12:20 Central European Summertime. On behalf of Andy McEwan, my name's Alex Goldschmidt. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. We'll see you on Saturday for the Thrustmaster 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps. You won't want to miss it.
Virtual.
As sim racers, we always want full focus. One single mistake might cost us the race. We're always improving our skills, our tactics, our consistency, being better than the competition. However, we sometimes forget to upgrade ourselves. That's why we created Q-Focus, an all-natural focus booster without caffeine. The formula is specifically designed to keep us calm and razor sharp during a race. My name is Alex. I'm a sim racer and the co-founder of the performance nutrition brand Callow. We want to empower sim racers to reach their full potential. Go to callow.com/simgrid to find out more.